Alright, fine. You just keep twisting my arm. You got me in a full Nelson here, demanding that I speak about this situation. So you know what? I'll do it. YandereDev. A very infamous name on the internet. He is responsible for the game Yandere Simulator that might ring some bells or pour some salt into an old wound if you've been around the YouTube Let's Play scene for a while. This is a game that blew up online because some of the biggest channels on the platform played it. In a nutshell, the game is basically Naughty Bear, but set in a Japanese high school. You just assassinate a bunch of high school girls, and it promised unlimited features. This game was basically going to be Life 2. YandereDev's ambition was unlike anything in the world. He was like a black hole just constantly trying to absorb everything and put it into his game. So it never actually fully came out. It has only ever existed in like testing states. It's still in a primitive state, not fully released. There's things in there that are extremely degenerate. Like I remember there was a big controversy about like the upskirt panty shots you can do in the game. It's just a very odd experience, and the developer behind it is even more odd, YandereDev. Over the course of 8 years, he did more damage to his reputation than Activision Blizzard. His online presence became a joke to a lot of people and achieved the status of a lolcow. I'm not here to just like go down memory lane with every controversy and everything that's happened along the journey, but it's important to set the stage here for what's currently going on with YandereDev. So over the course of 8 years, everyone has paid attention to every single minute that this guy has broadcast his life online, as well as the way he conducts himself with his fans, and it's led to a lot of less than savory things being revealed. And this past week has been the worst week for him when a lot of screenshots came out from Snapchat conversations, as well as some other very serious allegations levied against him, all hit the public eye. So this one here has been making the rounds. You're the one traumatizing me. That's allegedly YandereDev, cosplay fan. And they say, I'm sorry. And then he goes, this here is trauma. This is abuse. This is power imbalance. I am being emotionally abused by you. To which they respond, I'm 16. And then he goes, you have this massive blackmail over me. You're 35. And when I first saw this, it gave me a hearty belly laugh like Santa Claus. What an unbelievably creepy, concerning exchange. Now, he has made a response to all of this, saying, it's unwise choices he's been making as a result of deteriorating mental health over the years. And he is owning up to him being responsible for these things. Like, he's not trying to say, it's deep faked. This is all, a deep state operation to frame him because big AAA titles are afraid of Yandere Simulator being released. He's not going with any of those angles. He's not, trying to make it sound like all of this is, a lie. He is owning up to it, but it's not like that makes it any better. This is still some predatory, disgusting behavior that rightfully got him a lot of shit tossed his way for all of it. There was a lot more that came out of it, but I just wanted to highlight that one off rip just because of how ridiculous it is. But anyway, I have actually talked about this on stream a little bit, and most recently on the podcast. And I want to take this opportunity to just let everyone here know that the official podcast will no longer be posted to my channel here. We're making its own separate channel. We have already made its own separate channel called the official channel, where the podcast will go up, as well as shorter content with the crew, as well as new shows like a cryptid hunting show that Jackson and I are doing with Windagoon, as well as a show that Jackson and Kaya do together with To Catch a Predator. Just a lot of different types of content will be going on there, so it just made sense to spin it off from here to its own channel. So if you're a fan of the official podcast, it's going to be posted there from now on, as well as still audio platforms. I want to show you some of the clips from our conversation about YandereDev with this specific situation, the most recent one. But during the actual episode, we talked far more in depth on his entire history with the development, as well as past controversies too. I don't know how many of you followed along with YandereDev development, but man, was it a fucking train wreck. Just a complete disaster. Before playing that though, I do want to set the record straight on something that I said during the episode. I mentioned one of the screenshots that leaked was this Discord DM here. This was making its rounds all over the internet during the dam breaking of all of the creepy messages and exchanges YandereDev had with fans and inappropriate dialogue that he had with his underage fans. So this one says, YandereDev, happy 12th birthday, to which the person says, thank you. That's a big age for a young woman. Has your period started yet? I don't know if I feel comfortable answering that. It's fine, I'll keep it a secret. After sending that last message, that's when the tear gas busts through the window and the FBI's rappelling down into the house to apprehend the suspect. That is some scary, deplorable shit here. But after looking into it a bit deeper over the last couple days, this one might actually just be an impersonator who threw this into the mix to muddy the water and try and, like, capitalize off, like, the viral nature of the story. This screenshot is still being debated on whether it's real or not, and from all the evidence presented, I'm leaning towards this being an impersonator. I don't think this is actual YandereDev that had this exchange here. This seems like someone that was just trying to continue to pile more and more things on there, even though this one wasn't actually them.
What's wrong, Andrew?
Yeah, my world's crumbling around me, Jackson, you know.
What?
Andrew
Why?
said because YandereDev got caught being a creep.
Yeah, that's exactly where I was going with that. Thank you, Kaya.
That was his hero, yeah.
You took the words right out of my mouth.
So he got caught talking inappropriately with underaged fans.
The classic.
Yeah.
The gold standard for weird internet people.
It's always who you least suspect as well.
Well, hang on.
Yeah.
Have you seen YandereDev?
He was
I
just
don't
being
know.
sarcastic.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I'm tired. I didn't pick up on it.
He had a bunch of his DMs from Snapchat and Discord and everything hit the public ecosystem. He then made a blog post confirming that they're him. He even said something like, "This isn't like me, but I'm going to take responsibility." Yeah, I fucked up. Well, there was. So, like, his most famous one right now is through Snapchat. He was like, "You see, 17 is actually 94.4% of the way to 18. So, technically, it's 94.4% okay for me to be, like, attracted to a 17-year-old or whatever." Yeah, I'd have to really get into the nitty-gritty of the calculations, but he had a lot of them come out. Another big one was he sent a Snapchat to someone. He's like, "This is abuse. This is a power dynamic abuse. You are abusing me emotionally and physically with this trauma." And their response is, "I'm 16." And he goes, "Abuse." And then they go, "You're 35.
Holy shit.
It was like that, but it was like he was complaining about the power imbalance.
Yeah, for them.
In the
Yeah.
relationship.
Wait, he was complaining?
Well, yeah, because she had all this evidence on him, him being a creepy pedophile, and he's like, "There's a power imbalance here. This is unfair. This is abuse." And then she's like, "I'm 16.
How dare you record me doing these things that I did on my own? What a fucking idiot.
So fucking funny.
I like his goofy ass attempts at math in the middle of it. Like, oh, actually, he sounds like those guys who always have some sort of a semantics wordplay. Like, oh, actually, technically, I'm not a pedophile. I'm an ephebophile, according to the dictionary. It's like, okay, whatever. Point is, you're a creep.
So much better.
Kinda, not, nah. He's not. He doesn't talk like an anime villain or hero. He just so formal. He wants to sound formal in his tone of voice, but all he says is just the dumbest. Okay, here, I'll read from his blog. "I let the fans down. I keep saying that to myself over and over. Years of trying my best to prove that I'm not the bad guy that people say I am. And then I go and screw up so badly that I've retroactively vindicated some of the hate that has been directed at me. It's ironic. I've always tried so hard to disprove the hateful remark." And then he just goes on and on and on.
Wait, so you're saying like, oh, people have called me a pedophile for 7 years, and I tried my best not to prove them right.
Look, just because they were right doesn't mean they were right, okay?
It's been 9 years of people calling me mean names, and now I've deserved it. They just don't understand the difference between pedophile and habiba-opophile. Whatever the fuck it is.
He also did the classic, "Oops, I got caught. Please don't hate me here. I give to charity" dance routine where he donated $1,000 to Rain. RAINN, which is, I don't know what that is actually.
That's a pretty funny way to pay for being a pedophile, I guess.
It's the anti-sexual violence organization Rain. That's good, I guess.
He didn't mention that he also sent $1,000 to Nambler though as well.
Balanced, as all things should. Yeah, I talked about this a couple days ago. So when I watched the speed stream, I got to see most of it as it unfolded. It was so wild. So Speed recently did an entire stream dedicated to shilling a crypto called Paradox Metaverse. It's embarrassing. It's the whole stream was a disaster. So it started with a PS5 giveaway. So you see all the PS5s behind him, and the whole whole thing with the giveaway is, you know, give it to the chat. Thanks for supporting Paradox Metaverse to the moon. And Speed would take out a sledgehammer and break the PS5s, which I think is terrible. I think it's a fat L. There's few things as corny as this, just breaking expensive things that people really want, especially in this context where it's kind of just spitting in the face of his fans who thought they had a chance at winning some PS5s. I sent it all to CoffeeZilla right before going live, so a couple hours before, and CoffeeZilla started researching it, and he made this video, he did the interview. It has been so entertaining to see, so now I'm excited to watch the video. I did see that he shouted me out in the comments here for tipping him off, and I got butterflies in my stomach. To be to something like this before CoffeeZilla is crazy. So, happy to help. I also did a ton of research on it. I went deep into the weeds. One of the people behind the crypto scam is a YouTuber named Money Kicks, whose dad is worth like 2.1 billion. So, I mean, it has so many layers. It's such an interesting little rabbit hole.
Advertising 10x to 100x, is that a get-rich-quick scheme? Yes or no?
No.
He did them so much credit there because talking to them was like hitting your head against a wall. So he'd ask them a point-blank question, and they do the standard circular talk around it forever. And no matter how many times Coffee would be like, yes or no, they'd still just go into their spiel about shit that is completely irrelevant to whatever they're saying. It was frustrating, but still overall entertaining.
Who couldn't play soccer and was wearing a Buy Paradox Crypto Coin t-shirt. And it quickly
So
got worse.
good.
The live chat started calling Paradox Coin a scam in the middle of this sponsored
So I looked into this a little bit. This guy has made an entire career off looking like Cristiano Ronaldo. So he was in another YouTuber's video from a few years back called the Cristiano Ronaldo prank. And they just walked him around with security and got people's reactions.
a Buy Paradox Crypto Coin t-shirt. And it quickly got worse. The live chat started calling Paradox Coin a scam in the middle of this sponsored stream and called IShowSpeed a sellout, which caused him to get very angry.
The fact y'all ever make me, like, Chad, the fact that y'all, y'all just sticking me like that is just crazy. I hate that, bro. Y'all so weird, bro.
It's crazy.
He also tried to guilt trip the fans because there was a lot of donos coming through like that were like, this is a scam, Speed. You have to know this is a scam. And be like, why are you guys saying that? You're hurting my feelings. The fact you think of me like that makes me really upset. And you know I would never do that to you guys. It's just, you're making me really sad right now. Just guilt tripping them. He's like, I just want to see W's in the chat. No more L's. No more of that. Just W's in the chat. Only mods. Only W's. It was fucking embarrassing. Shameless. Now, yeah, it is important to remember Speed himself is a kid. He is 17. And people keep using that as an excuse. And I think to some level, that's fine. Because he should have people around him that are able to sniff out scams like this. But Speed also clearly knew what he was doing. The audio in here that leaked because he didn't mute all of the mics so it got picked up pretty much confirms that he knew this was kind of shady shit to begin with. He is not 19. He says he's 19. He is 17. He was born in 2005. He is a minor. He is a kid. It is a meme that he says he's 19. We double-checked last night. He is born in 2005. He's 17. But his team around him is clearly not actually looking out for him, for allowing him to do shit like this and be used. I'd like to come in here and further clarify that I'm not saying everything that happened is excusable because he's a kid. He still, of course, bears the responsibility and at the end of the day has the final say in what he does and what he promotes. So he should be doing at least the bare minimum to have an understanding of what's going on and what he's actually promoting. Because even during the stream, he couldn't even remember the name of the company like twice. Which of course made the chat turn against him, saying things like sellout and I show scammer. So I do absolutely think that he needs to pay more attention to this kind of shit. And he also needs people around him on his team that are old enough to rent a car and actually have experience in life that can look at things like this, go through it, and then decide if it's legitimate or not, and then relay that information to him. Because right now, it doesn't seem like he has that team. From the look of things, he's got a bunch of people around him that just care about money, like Mr. Krabs here. So it leads to absolute catastrophes like this. And I do think that at the end of the day, Speed did get used here. He was exploited by this shady, shitty crypto company to shill their dog shit. But that doesn't mean that Speed is blameless in this situation here, even though he is a kid.
And that is the fact that all these teenagers and kids called this guy out. I mean, just think about it. The target of most crypto scams is gullible people. And who's more gullible than kids and teenagers? So when those people see right through your scam...
You know who's more gullible than kids and teenagers is adults who think they're early. I would wager the most gullible people on the planet are like the mid-20s people on the cusp of what they think is new technology or anything that will make them money. I think those are the most gullible people. You see that all the time from the crypto community. Hey, can someone recover my NFTs? I clicked on a link in my emails talking about minting new boof tokens, and now all of a sudden my whole NFT collection's gone. I think I got fished. Any help? Like, you never hear the end of that shit. I think they are much more gullible than kids. 100%.
The only problem is, he forgot to fully mute the mic.
So what do I do now? Oh, they're spending LCM.
Now, before we get to the rest of this audio of Speed exposing this scam, let's talk about Paradox Coin, the thing he's promoting. How do we know this is a scam anyways? Well, I checked out their website to learn more, where they call themselves the future of gaming.
To answer that question, how do we know this is a scam in the first place? I think every crypto project should be guilty until proven innocent. If any crypto startup comes around, you should assume it's a scam until they prove otherwise. That is the safest way of navigating the crypto space.
Is that they're not one thing. The Paradox Metaverse is actually 7 things, each one possibly dumber than the last. And I'm going to explain them. So first up is the Paradox game, which has graphics out of the PS2 era, which made me wonder why they'd be giving away PS5 and trying to make your games look worse by comparison. But it gets even crazier because I spoke to the founders and they called their game AAA quality. And I took issue with
It's pretty close. It is actually, this is up there with like the new Saints Row, Crackdown 3 maybe. Like, it's not far off. Also, from what I was reading, they used a lot of stock assets. So and I don't know this for sure because I'm not familiar with all the stock assets available. But that would mean that they're not even like actually building it ground up or anything like that, or even trying. They're just asset flipping like the shit we play on Steam Bad Game Night. I'm not 100% sure on that though. I was just reading about it.
When you describe yourself as an indie game.
I don't want to interrupt you, but just give me.
You are interrupting me. Of course you are. You don't call yourself an indie game.
That shit got dank quick. Yeah, that's a lot of what happened in the live stream. They just immediately just start flooding like a Xbox Live party chat. Whenever he's trying to like call out something, they immediately just flood. So much. It's like a wall of noise.
A UK-based indie gaming studio. Indie studio.
So yeah, I'm not buying this AAA.
Comments are turned off on that video, by the way. Nothing shows confidence in a project quite like turning off the feedback on the announcement in the trailer.
And once you do that, you have to wait 24 hours before starting another mission. I guess if you do that full time, they estimate you make $500 a week based on 4 hours a day of playing. Wait, I thought...
God, I love that. So the whole thing tries to prey on people, like, play to earn is the term. So you play our game and you earn money. So, like, yeah, you'll come in, you'll, you know, invest or whatever, but you're earning money through playing this game and doing our missions with our paracoins. But it's all just worthless nonsense dog shit. It's not real.
Playing. Wait, you can rent out your avatar to someone else for paracoins and passive income. Okay, so now you have paracoins, right? What are you gonna do with them? Well, you can sell them, but why sell them when you can lock them up and stake them for, get this, even more paracoins? If you do this, your paracoins turn into P-Save, which then you lock up for
What
a
the
period.
fuck?
Sorry, chart. The longer you lock up your money, the more you earn in a process they call delay and get paid. Sure,
What the
I guess.
fuck?
Now, if you want to understand how this entire staking process works, their flowchart
That's a
will
head
leave you
scratcher.
even more confused. Here it is. And instead of explaining it, I'm going to label all of this Ponzi nonsense. This
Well, let's not write it off too quickly. Let me take a peek here at the old flowchart. Staking process. Para used for P-save. Para distributed. Para used in purchase for the staking protocol. Staking pool, which goes into the initial stake withdrawing from pool and getting rewarded with para coins. And now your stake is complete. Easy. But now staking pool and the funds dip below 50. A conditional mint comes in. And then it's all simple, honestly.
There's 7 more. So if you're not a gamer, they also give you other schemes you can get involved in. For example, there's the Paradox DAO, where you can stake PDAO coins to earn up to 10% a year in returns. And if that's not your thing, you can try the Paradox Pad, where they promise
So many
10x
options.
to 100x multiples if you invest. Okay.
They made a bet here with CoffeeZilla where they said they would change their name to CoffeeZilla if Paradox Meta didn't open to 20 to 30 bucks and it opened to 10 cents. Here. So they didn't even get the full pump and dump. So this is where that bad girl kicked off. And here's their
I'll
bet.
make this deal with you right here, right now. I'll make this deal with you right here, right now.
Okay.
Our coin launches and it doesn't do a minimum 20 to 30 or I will change my name to Coffee.
Mm-hmm.
Fucking, I don't even know what your channel's called. What's the channel called?
CoffeeZilla. CoffeeZilla. CoffeeZilla.
CoffeeZilla. I will change my name to CoffeeZilla. I'll make this deal with you,
Unfortunately, he didn't do it. He didn't change his fucking name. I haven't checked today, though. Maybe it did hit 20 bucks. Let's take a peek. It's now at 9 cents. I can't believe it. What? Man, I can't believe it didn't go to $20 or $30. Crazy. Criminal, even. Is nobody playing their game at the moment? It's the goddamn World of Warcraft killer on those battlegrounds.
Up to 20% on staking rewards, all right? Now, if all of that sounds dumb, you can even get your friends to invest too. Every person you get gets £5. Okay, whoop-de-doo. Now, the last one we're gonna cover is Paradox Events, which to realize is a waste of money.
This is the only way to get rich in 2022 without starting up a business from scratch. For every person that you refer to Amyotali University, you get £15.
Now, I confronted
God, I hate that so fucking much. That it's one of my biggest gripes, those guru programs. And people, for some reason, buy in and then fight tooth and nail for them. You just train your own little warriors, your own little cult.
No, I think saying that this is the only way you're gonna get rich is wrong.
People don't get rich on affiliate programs? People don't make a living.
It's not the
No.
only, you say I found the only way to get rich.
But also, no.
Knowledge.
I would be so curious if there is anyone that has ever got rich from affiliate programs. I would be shocked. Like, not, obviously, at the top level, affiliate programs are great for the gurus. They make millions. I'm talking like a normal, just random person. Yes, I am a career affiliate promoter. I bring people to this goober's university for money. And now I own 5 Ferraris in this garage.
I'm doing a bit of businesses. We've done alhamdulillah, we've done all right. Very good. Now we're just celebrating life in the sense that
life is step by step, you know. Thank
100%,
God,
100%.
Wait, how's Money Kicks talking about life is step by step?
You don't understand,
What was your
Coffee.
step 1? Being the son of a billionaire? What?
You
what
don't
was your
get it.
step
You just
2?
don't get
like
it.
At that point, is he just talking to people like, hey, have you tried step 1 yet? Now, this is the whole crew.
Yeah, he was just, again, born rich. Dad's a billionaire. Yeah, the video he's showing is this one as well. So Money Kicks posted this right before the speed stream. Oh my god, he took it down. Okay, unlucky. Okay, I guess I should have saved it. It was spending a day with a crypto billionaire and I show speed. That was the clip that he got it from. But it was a rough video. It was rough.
So that's just what it sounds like to me, and apparently to a lot of children and teenagers. So I think it's probably gonna flop. But now that you understand what Paradox is, it's time to go back to I show speed, trying to keep his chat from figuring out what's going on.
Alright, so look. It's cool now. Relax. Yo, relax. Why listen to the chat? You'll see no more scams. Trust me. I know. I'm just trying to make No. Bro, you know what I'm doing, bro.
Oof.
I'm not gonna say it, but then it's gonna be obvious, bro.
Yeah, I think it's a little too late for that.
Stop spamming. I'm not a scammer, bro. Why do you keep spamming? Bro, I'm not a scammer, dog. I made a little mistake, you know, that I wish I never did, but I'm not a scammer, bro.
Now, at the very least, Speed apologized in the very next stream and looks like he cut ties with everything. So, this was pre-sale. They didn't go live on that day, I don't think. I think they went live yesterday. So, hopefully, no one in his audience lost any money on it. But what an absolutely reputational nuke he took there. Fucking bit a fat L, unfortunately. No one decided to do any level of thinking about that partnership there. But yeah, this Ronaldo impersonator moment was so special. It was so fucking good. They bring in the Ronaldo impersonator, play it off like the real Ronaldo, so they hyped it up for a long time. They're like, if we get enough Paradox Metaverse to the moon in the chat, we'll bring out something special. Go follow the Twitter, here's the Twitter, go follow it. And they got 2,000 followers. They're like, oh fuck, that just unlocked it. Turn around, Speed, close your eyes. We got a special surprise for you. Guess in the chat who it's gonna be. And then Paradox Metaverse to the moon. And they bring out fake Ronaldo. They bring out Chris Orlando here. And they all play it off like it's the real Ronaldo. And almost immediately in the chat, people are like, what the fuck? That's not Ronaldo. It was quite an obvious joke. Not to everybody, though. In fact, if you go on Twitter right now, Speed posted a picture with the impersonator. There are still so many of his fans that think he met the real Ronaldo, and they were reflecting on this stream, and like, it was great to see Ronaldo socialize with you like that, and he knows who you are because he did one of Speed's things. They're like, holy shit, Ronaldo actually knows who you are. So there are a lot of them that really believed it was the real deal. They were trolling. You like to think that, but I just don't believe it. You have to remember, a lot of his audience is kids as well. It's of course important to mention that during the stream they do eventually drop it and reveal it's not the real Ronaldo, it's an impersonator. It's not Cristiano Ronaldo, it's Christopher Rowland. But I think a lot of the kids only focused on the part that went viral, which was Speed's reaction to meeting Ronaldo, where he's yelling and screaming and shit and hugging him. So a lot of them still, to this day, believe that he actually has met Ronaldo because of this moment. Why did he destroy the PS5s? He thought it'd be comedic? I don't know. That was bad. Like, even before all the crypto shit started, they led with the PS5 stuff and he was breaking it and immediately turned chat against him. I don't know why you'd ever do that. I hate that shit. That was a trend back in like 2009 or whatever, whenever the PS3 came out. Going to GameStop, midnight release for PS3 and breaking it. And it was always so fucking douchey. And it is still douchey to this day. Why? I don't know, man. They must have thought that it was a good joke. I don't watch a ton of Speed streams, I'll be the first to admit. I am familiar with him to some level, but it's just not my cup of tea. I'm sure most of you know I'm not really big into the really loud equals entertaining stuff, and that's mainly his brand, so it's just not for me. So I don't know what the breaking PS5s was for. Maybe because it makes a loud noise or it's destructive, shocking. I don't know. The fake Ronaldo came out on TikTok and said they specifically asked him not to say a word or they wouldn't pay him. This isn't what I was talking about.
What are you?
My chat, who is this guy?
And the resub Fuzzy and Abby and Phony. Yep, that's that whole situation. Pretty wacky stuff. Today's story is on a YouTuber that I'm positive no adult knows or cares about, but it's just been quite some time since our last meaningless YouTuber beef that I thought this one was at least worth talking about because it's a nice little treat. It's beginning to feel a lot like 2016 with this one. So to break down the situation briefly, two YouTubers were staying at the same haunted hotel that they were using for content, but then it leads to a bit of confrontation and then eventually just a truly sour relationship between them. And there's a lot of big YouTubers involved here, and it all leads to this giant fucking black hole of main character syndrome, so they all get aggressive, and they all start filming each other, so they're saying all their aggressive shit towards their camera about one another. It's a big mess, it's very goofy. The main two players here in this soap opera are Brent Rivera, a channel with 25 million subs, and I guarantee you haven't heard of him if you're over the age of 18. Unless, of course, you're suffering from some psychological damage and actually enjoy watching an asshole babysit children, like actual kids, and for some reason make a lot of content specifically with 10 and 11-year-olds. His audience is very clearly like actual toddlers, like Goo Goo Gaga, Here Comes the Airplane with the Vegetables level children. And a couple days ago, this tough guy puffed out his chest and threw down with another big YouTuber named Tyler Oliveira. And man, what a disaster that was. Now, I don't want it to get twisted here, I'll be very clear. I have no problem with people who make content catering to children. It's extremely smart to target that demographic because of how lucrative it is. But there has to be some level of self-awareness when you do that. Like, have some shame. You're not a tough guy like Brent Rivera pretends to be. Brent Rivera got confronted in the real world, and I'm using that word loosely because it wasn't really confronting. He got trolled in real life and just for some reason acted far stronger and more badass than he is. Like, bro, you make videos eating gum off of a child's shoe. Like, why are you going to try and pretend to be like this fucking man's man when met with controversy or when met with conflict in the real world? So it ended up being a horrible look for him when Tyler Oliveira accidentally became part of a Brent Rivera video. I'll go ahead and show you the video that started all of this. Tyler Oliveira was doing a piece of content at a haunted hotel. Brent Rivera was doing one as well. And the two worlds accidentally crossed paths.
That's Brent Rivera calling security and then the cops on me after I asked him this.
Do you fake your videos?
No. It all started when I was staying at the Shining Hotel, came out of my room, and randomly found these two girls in the hallway.
What is happening?
This isn't important by any means, but it's always so weird to me why someone like Brent will claim they don't fake their videos. Like, even children don't care, man. You can just be honest. You don't have to lie. Like, he hired these two women to pretend to be like the little girls from The Shining, and he tries to play it off as like legitimate, I guess, for some reason, which makes no fucking sense at all. This is just a nitpick. It doesn't compute with me. Like, why even bother lying about that? No one's being fooled, not even like an actual glue-eating 4-year-old. Like, there's no shot. You can just be honest. Plus, that kid's also probably not watching a Tyler Oliveira video in the first place anyway. Your secret's probably still going to be safe.
Guys, check that one in the video where he's pregnant.
Who?
You'll see.
Who are you people?
What do you mean?
What is your name? Brent. Brent? Yeah. Brent. Last name? Rivera. What is your name?
I'm Dom.
Name?
Drew.
What are you guys filming?
Hotel video.
What is this? Who are you guys? Are you guys hired by the Brent Rivera group?
Maybe.
Okay, anyways.
You can immediately see Tyler's being very opportunistic about all of this. They just happen to both be on the same floor and they were filming this video, and Tyler walked out legitimately right in it, like a pedestrian about to get hit by a fucking car in a crosswalk. But instead of a car in this situation, it's cringe. He's getting absolutely blasted by cringe beams from all directions, and he tries to make the most out of the situation. So he takes advantage of this by directly going to Brent Rivera and his team and busting their balls about the whole thing, which leads to everyone's ham getting steamed. Everyone gets very upset. Tyler's like, oh, what's your name? Brent Rivera. Did he hire you guys? Is this all fake? Is this all a sham, a ruse, a scam? And, you know, I can understand that being a bit of a nuisance from Brent Rivera's perspective. Like, damn, this guy's just coming over here, like, all up in our shit and just, like, interrogating us when we're just trying to film this piece of kids content. Like, it can absolutely be a headache, but the way Brent handles it is atrocious. He starts, like, shaming him for using an iPhone, shaming their equipment. At one point, someone on his team belittles his subscriber number. Like, he couldn't have looked worse in this situation if he tried.
So aware that I was in the middle of a fake YouTube prank, I wanted to see if Brent would admit it, because we all know his videos are fake and he steals everyone's ideas.
I have a question for you guys. Do you guys hire these people?
We don't know who those people is.
And unsurprisingly, they made a cameo in Brent's newest video. It's almost like they know each other.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Do you fake your videos?
No. Do you fake your videos?
No.
There's a big who gives a fuck moment. As Tyler even mentions, everyone knows he fakes his videos, steals ideas, steals thumbnails. Like, everyone knows that. So why do you need to get him to admit it? It wouldn't change anything. And it's not exactly like a great video either. He's just doing this to instigate a conflict, obviously. And Brent Rivera just keeps escalating it. So they both play into each other here. Like fucking piranhas, and they're sniffing clout in the water. Brent Rivera, though, however, is a very fucking dumb piranha, and it all backfires on him.
Alright, okay. Have fun, guys.
I don't know what's going on here. Oh god, Brent Rivera's right there.
Hey, go have fun with your 100 subscribers, bud.
We get that louder.
You don't have a directional mic on my camera?
I don't know how people haven't realized that insulting someone's subscriber number, financial well-being, and all of that is just an instant L. Like, somehow, people will still say some shit like that guy who said, have fun with your 100 subscribers, bud, with their whole chest. Like, they'll just let that shit rip, not knowing or being completely oblivious to how awful that makes you look. You lose the second you go there. You look like an insufferable douchebag asshole, like just a fucking pure colonostomy bag of a person. Like, it's outrageous that people still do it. Like, shaming him for using an iPhone, insulting his mics, which they also bring up, is everything. It's so weird. Now, I want to make it clear, Tyler's not even following them around. He's on a tour. He's on his way to the tour, and Brent Rivera's crew just snipes him on the way by and hits him with, like, drive-by kindergarten insults.
Hey, we're filming our thing. You film yours, okay?
Yeah.
Let's not be.
Okay, that's reasonable.
Let's not be disrespectful, okay?
Well, you guys shit talking the iPhone, though.
I don't appreciate the disrespect.
What disrespect? I literally walked out of my hotel room and nearly had a heart attack.
Why did you walk up to us, like, enter our space?
I paid $400 a night for the hotel. What do you mean?
Yeah, but if we were normal guests, that would
Whoa.
Okay.
Brent Rivera's henchmen, sidekicks, are already being disrespectful to Tyler, as Brent Rivera has also already been, and yet he still tries to be, like, the moral authority here. The girl does make a good point, like, hey, you did come up in our shit, but then she immediately follows it up with, if we were normal guests. So putting themselves on a higher pedestal than normal people. How can people not recognize that you are an asshole for saying shit like that? You're a narcissist. Like, oh, if we were normal guests, this behavior would be acceptable for the plebeians, which we are not. Look at the subscriber count that we have.
Normal guess. You think you're elevated beyond an average human being? You've ascended the human. Wait, what are you? Wait, who are you?
You're harassing our tours.
No.
You need to back up right now.
Come on.
Dude, get moving.
Have fun, guys.
We're not harassing. I want to say hi to my favorite YouTuber, Brent Rivera. Totally doesn't fake his videos, and it's totally awesome.
Hi. Why are you having trouble speaking?
I'm nervous in front of my idols. What do you mean?
Get out of here. Alright, yeah, kick him out, bro.
Isn't that so inspiring? Brent Rivera is starting to chirp up a little bit now that security's there to make sure Tyler can't get close enough to Brent. So then he starts insulting him for fumbling words, I guess, even though I didn't notice him fumble any words. Weird thing to try and stand on, but whatever, I guess.
Anyways, great tour. We're back. Apparently, is it true you kissed your sister, Brent? You're gonna get us kicked out? You're that powerful? Yes, he'll let us stay. That was nice.
So I start walking to my room, grateful for Brent's mercy.
Brent, is that you?
It was him. They were all staring at us and filming us on, guess what, an iPhone.
Bro, are you recording us? Did you guys film your video?
The pettiness just keeps going and going and going. It's all so fucking meaningless. The kiss your sister comment, obviously, of course, now just taking jabs at Brent because everything's bubbled over like a bad stew. and Brent and his crew are now recording him and saying he's lame and shit for their own TikToks or whatever. God, it's so goofy.
Did you guys finish your video?
No.
Oh, we're not gonna be able to finish it then.
What do you mean?
I'm sorry, they're gonna come and get you guys. They're gonna kick you out.
What do you mean? We paid
All right.
$375, Brent.
I'm sorry.
I'm not as rich as you, Brent.
This is the third time harassing us. Don't harass.
Whoa, 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 whoa. You recorded me.
I'm recording you because you guys are coming up to us
Oh, okay.
every single second of the day.
Whoa, we walked in. We're on the same floor.
It's super possible a lot of shit's edited out of Tyler's video, but everything that's here is them just literally having crossed paths and then both parties insulting each other. Like, it doesn't seem like Tyler goes out of his way, especially here in the hallway. They opened the door twice as Tyler was going to the room. That's entirely Brent Rivera and his crew playing fucking peekaboo like it's a goddamn episode of Scooby-Doo with the door opening and closing and then filming him. Now, maybe Tyler did go out of his way a couple times elsewhere that's not in the video. I guess it's possible. But it's also not like he was doing a ton of harassing of them that I've seen here, aside from the initial confrontation, which Tyler obviously leaned into and walked up to them in order to fucking troll them right to their face. Like, that one, Tyler did start for sure, but Brent and his crew were the ones that continued it, at least from everything that's present here. Of course, it is possible that there's a lot we don't see, but there's not like a hero in this story either. Both parties don't look good, but Brent Rivera and his team look significantly worse.
Cooperative and compliant with us, and I appreciate you being reasonable about it.
For sure. My apologies. Sorry, guys.
All right.
It ends as you'd expect. Brent does get them kicked out. The cops do show up, and I'm sure Brent finished that video and it sucks. I guarantee that shit is trash. But that's the conclusion here. Just some petty YouTuber beef that I thought was just at least silly enough to talk about. That's about it. See ya. Throughout the history of YouTube, there's of course been no shortage of creeps on the platform. However, there's always existed one champion atop this mountain of weirdos, one alpha goober who is more laughably pathetic and cringe and more dangerously unhinged than all of the rest. His name used to send shivers down the spines of all parents who had teenage girls in their household. His name has long since been forgotten, like an ancient threat. He's like the Sauron of YouTube, the Thanos of online accused predators. His name is Onision. This is someone I've covered quite a few times on the channel over the years, and we're going to be talking about him again because he is now facing his biggest lawsuit yet for his alleged grooming and solicitation of pictures of underage girls, as well as a lot of other really awful things that he has been accused of over the years. Talking about Onision in 2023 is like talking about a 1970s obscure action movie villain that no one remembers. It's just been so long since anyone's actually talked about him outside of just mentioning all of his absolute degeneracy or laughing at him for when he embarrasses himself. Even though he's not active on YouTube, he is still active on Twitter and posts just unbearable, unreadable garbage. Things like, "What if I hugged you and then buried my tongue deep inside your asshole and then I fished around in there for dingleberries? Would you like that? Would you like that, my naughty princess? Would you get squirty for me?" Like, absolutely awful vomit-inducing shit. So he'd get dunked on Twitter still as just a little punching bag, but he wasn't really a YouTuber anymore for the last, like, 4 or 5 years. I'll go ahead and give you, like, a brief history of him, since I'm sure most of you don't even remember the shit stain that he left on the internet. I'll give you a little lore recap. He started making shit all the way back in 2007, but really what blew up his channel was this video, the banana song, "I'm a Banana." It was a viral video that really popped off, and it's during that era of YouTube where everything was just like XD random and making silly songs like "Spoon, Spork, I got a spoon, a spork, sporky spoon," like that kind of awful shit. He capitalized on that genre, and from there grew 3 channels with over 1 million subs each, one of them over 2 million, which for its time was unheard of. He was one of the biggest channels YouTube had for years. He was absolutely massive. And then he started letting that power get to his head. He started falling into a lot of controversies, but by far the biggest one was he had a website where his audience of mostly young teenage girls would send pictures of themselves that he would grade. He'd grade them on their attractiveness, on their bodies and shit like that, and he would critique them and talk about these pictures that little girls were sending to him. How the authorities didn't kick down his door and rip him out of his banana costume for all this shit, I will never fully understand, because there's a lot of substantiated evidence about all of this. So you can immediately see that this is a fucking awful person. This is a bad guy, and the controversies only continued to grow over the years. It got to a point where Chris Hansen investigated him. I think there's even a documentary about Onision and all the awful shit he's done. And he never really faced repercussions for these actions. He even still tried to like capitalize off some of the shit. He started an OnlyFans page which focused on cuck porn of him. It's not even really worth going down that road, but yeah, he started an OnlyFans for even more weird shit that he was into and trying to sell. He had an appearance in court a couple years ago where everyone was laughing at him because he showed up in a bulletproof vest. He was actually suing Chris Hansen, but ended up suing the wrong Chris Hansen. And Onision is so unbelievably fucking stupid. He's an absolute bumbling idiot that he decided to represent himself in court. As you can imagine, this was a complete mockery of the legal system, and everyone was laughing at him because he went there in a fucking bulletproof vest, represented himself, and he looked like an extra out of a John Wick film. And now, fast forward to 2023, and he is facing by far his biggest lawsuit yet. They put out a statement a few days ago breaking down everything. The entire 48-page lawsuit is available to read and download if anyone really wants to see all of the details. Here are 5 counts alleged in the filing. This is just an article breaking down the situation, but this is all from the actual complaint. As you can see, it's very serious shit here. They're pulling no punches. This is the full knuckle sandwich they're coming after Onision with. And rightfully so. All of these allegations are disgusting, and he absolutely does need to be held accountable for years upon years of this kind of behavior. So I'm very curious to see how all of this plays out. This is a big deal for sure, and one that undoubtedly will be very interesting to see unfold. I am, however, excited to see Onision's newest breakdown video that he'll likely make for this. He's notorious for filming himself, having a meltdown, and leaning into the controversy where he tries to make like a mockery of it. So he like just has these over-the-top breakdowns, spitting and screaming and shitting and pissing, all about people, you know, being mean to him. But those are usually just trying to farm off of the drama, so he tries to like clout goblin his way into a couple extra views for some ad revenue. This one I think is far more serious for him, since this carries huge sentencing should he be found guilty on all of these things. Like, this is not a light lawsuit, at least not from what I've read here. This seems like this could be an absolute big one. So I don't know if he's gonna be his usual deplorable attention farming self off this case here, but I guess we'll just have to see. Anyway, I just wanted to talk about this a little bit, and that's about it. So yep, I'll just say it out loud with my whole chest. I love learning about useless, meaningless internet drama. It's one of those things where I spend an embarrassing amount of time reading every little niche tiff that a community has, going to every single facet of the internet, learning about what kind of controversy or what drama is happening over there. If I spent that same amount of time that I do reading about internet drama and instead spent that time learning useful skills, I would have been able to master like 5 different skills right now, like some really cool special things like juggling and clogging. But instead, I just learn about nonsense. It's my main vice, and it's more addicting than heroin, and I recognize that it's a pathetic hobby. It'd be less embarrassing if I just made fursuits in my spare time than read about internet drama, but regardless, the reason I'm talking about it today is because I recently watched Wavy Web Surf's new video on YouTubers that are in prison, and I was confident that I would know everyone that he was about to speak on, and I did know all of them, except one. And that surprised me because the one I didn't know is really a fucked up situation that I feel most people probably weren't aware of, because when I look up this person's name, there's only one channel that's ever really talked about them at length, and that was Philip DeFranco. Now, Philip DeFranco talks about something Paymoney Wubby talked about, which was the really weird fetish of breastfeeding videos on YouTube, where it clearly wasn't educational and they weren't breastfeeding their kids for the sake of like getting them nutrients, you know, like the actual biological function of breastfeeding. They were filming this because it was fetish content to some really sick weirdos that were watching it. So he was focusing on the entire depraved community and only briefly mentioned the person we're about to talk about, Lee Felton. Lee Felton was once a piano teacher, but after her husband left her and her child, she then got desperate for money and started posting breastfeeding videos on YouTube that were clearly meant to be sexual. For those that don't know, YouTube has always had an exception to their nudity policy if the content is educational. And they used to have that for artistic expression as well, but that started getting abused. A lot of people recognized a loophole there where you could claim anything was artistic and then just have full nudity on YouTube. I remember a couple of classic bangers, such as the girl who opened a can of SpaghettiOs with her pussy and then like dumped the SpaghettiOs on the floor and called it modern art, or the absolute timeless masterpiece of the older woman who dressed in a morph suit but then cut the pussy out, so she just have her vagina on full display, and then she had a man pick her up and carry her around while she peed everywhere in a circle. So that was hype, and eventually YouTube recognized that this was getting abused, so they don't really have that exception for artistic nudity anymore, at least not like they used to, but it does still exist for educational content. So things like how to administer a breast exam, or like how to do a Brazilian wax. If you look up that kind of shit, you can find full nudity because it's people trying to educate, even though a lot of people will recognize there's bad actors here, once again just using that educational loophole for porn on the platform. But the point is, and there's also naked yoga on YouTube, fully nude yoga that they claim is educational on poses and how the human body reacts to the poses. I'm getting sidetracked. There is a loophole for nudity on the platform as long as it's educational. And Lee Felton, it took advantage of that. She started making this breastfeeding content where she just had her titties out and she'd have her child being breastfed. And she made a lot of content like that and then started to recognize that her audience wasn't women trying to learn how to breastfeed. It was creepy, absolute fucking worms that were watching her to jerk off. It was sexual. So she started to lean into it.
Lee reportedly made breastfeeding videos where she rubbed herself and her child down in oil and shoved her breasts in the baby's face. Lee would give her videos titles akin to something you might find on an adult website. Titles such as Slip and Slide and Mommy's a Whore. Jesus fucking Christ.
Jesus fucking Christ is right. So Lee Felton turned to the ultimate dark side. She was not only producing this pornographic material, but she was selling unlisted links to the videos to these absolute fucking degenerates. And you can clearly recognize the big problem here. She was producing pornography that involved an actual child.
According to reports, a Wisconsin man was apparently busted purchasing Lee's content by his wife, and after discovering the repulsive videos, the wife reportedly felt into authorities.
And hopefully the wife also left the husband, because that is an absolute unhinged weirdo, and hopefully he was also charged with purchasing child pornography, because that's what this shit is. You have porn that involves a child. It's child pornography. And initially she was facing an absolute grocery list here of charges: 34 counts of capital sexual battery, plus other charges of promoting a sexual performance by a child, possession of child pornography, and lewd and lascivious molestation, crimes that could have carried a life sentence, but she was only found guilty on one of the charges, which carried a 10-year sentence. Now, let's go over a little bit more of what Wavy Web Surf points out, which is how she defended these actions in the case.
During her trial, she would describe her videos as a, quote, silly little playful thing, and that she doesn't believe it's criminal.
A silly little playful thing, huh? Fucking menace. What a fiend. Oh, so goofy to produce porn that involves a child that is in your porn. Man, how wacky. Oh, wow, goodness graciously. This was her entire stance during the case, that it wasn't serious, and that she was also going through mental health struggles, which led to her doing this. She said that she had finally got attention that she had been craving for so long, so she leaned into it even further, but it was never serious, and it wasn't criminal or bad or anything. It was just a playful thing that she was also charging money for. That was clearly sexually charged, because a lot of the titles like Mommy's a Whore and Good Little Boy were being sold as the unlisted videos, but for some reason she still tried to play it off like, oh, it's just so silly, that's all, you guys are overreacting. That was her absolute lobotomized take during all of it. And her lawyers were just as smooth-brained. They tried to argue that everything she did was protected by free speech. I'm not even fucking kidding, I'm not making that up. They made this a free speech argument, that she should be able, and it's not criminal, for her to breastfeed her child in these sexually charged fetish videos because it's a free speech expression.
Lee Felton's defense attempted to argue that her breastfeeding videos fell under free speech protection, but nobody was buying this defense. A Tallahassee sheriff's lieutenant puts it best. Quote, "The video was clearly not done for the purpose of education or artistic display. Based on the content and the fact that it's being sold by Felton, it is clear this video is for sexual purposes."
Fucking obviously. This is not a free speech issue. I love free speech. I hate censorship. You know what this isn't? Free speech. And it's not censorship. You can't just use this as a catch-all term or defense like, what do you mean I can't dismember my neighbor when I'm upset? What about free speech, huh? Do we not live in a free country? I can't go over there and just fucking decapitate him? Come on. Are you serious? I don't want to live in a society where Lee Felton can't produce sexual breastfeeding videos for people to enjoy. Oh my goodness, what happened to free speech? It's fucking lunacy. It's absolute craziness that that's what they tried. But what's even more insulting is that it must have worked to some degree because her charges, all 34 of them, she was found not guilty on except for one. But that charge carried a 10-year sentence, so she is still spending a significant time behind bars, but not as long as she should, I would argue. She of course lost custody of her child, but I really don't understand why they reduced the sentence so much. There was overwhelming evidence against her with tons of videos as well as tons of receipts of the videos being sold to like 40 or 50 different clients allegedly. Like that, I still feel like 10 years was a pretty light sentence for all of this, with all of that considered, but whatever. Anyway, just wanted to talk about this because I found this to be a pretty interesting story that I'd never heard of before, so huge hats off to Wavy Websurf for finding this and talking about it, because this was a really interesting and really fucked up one. That's about it. So yeah. Today we're talking about a serious topic that I'm shocked hasn't become a bigger story. Right now the only YouTuber that's covered it is Some Ordinary Gamers, Mudahar. Shout out to Mudahar, he's a sweet, special little angel, a butterfly with a heart of gold, and he's been talking about this story, or talked about it yesterday, and it's been ongoing for a little while now. It involves a beloved YouTuber that I was personally a fan of, even made a video on him a long time ago, and a YouTuber that I'm sure many of you have probably heard of before. Feature Man. His channel used to have nearly 450,000 subscribers, but he's been losing a good handful of them now due to the story that's come out. And he's also deleted a ton of his videos. He's purged his whole channel, burnt down his own Library of Alexandria here, so a lot of his biggest content no longer exists, but you probably remember him from going viral a few times for how to eat a watermelon, for example, where he kind of became this wacky watermelon old guy. He really broke the magician's code with that video. He opened everyone's third eye to the truth, the optimal way of attacking a watermelon and consuming it. And his whole channel had always existed in this limbo, this fabric between dimensions, between realms of, is it satirical or is this guy serious? He's an older gentleman, and people are wondering, is he geriatric? Is he senile? Because his recipes, and that was the main bulk of his content, was like goofy recipes, were always unhinged. Like digging out a hole in a watermelon and dumping fucking onion powder and a shoelace in it and being like, yep, this is a good watermelon recipe. Or a fucking pack of Vienna sausages and then putting mustard on it and then slamming it in between 5 pieces of bread and then putting sprinkles. Like all kinds of crazy shit, really. And for a long time, he cultivated an audience where they were laughing along with him. But now nobody's laughing after a series of investigations conducted by the community revealed a very fucked up past. It turns out he's not some innocent, wholesome octogenarian just posting YouTube videos and he's a good saint or anything. He's actually just evil. He, in the past, was facing 3 consecutive life in prison charges due to infamous crimes against nature for his sexual contact with minors. And after this information came to light, Featureman himself even posted a video, which he has now deleted, where he kind of tackled all of it head on while tiptoeing around the actual specifics of the case. I'll play some clips from that for you real quick. And I highly recommend watching Mudahar's video on this whole thing because he goes very in-depth going through the actual court documents as well as the newspaper clippings that the community has all put together. I'm just going to be giving you like a general breakdown of this whole situation. It's fucking rough.
About 1977, I became involved with the court system once again. I was arrested. I was tried, I was convicted by a jury, and I was sentenced. And the sentence was life in prison. And the sentence was life in prison. And the sentence was life in prison. Three lives in prison.
Knowing what I know now about this man, I can't even listen to him without getting the heebie-jeebies. The way he's talking here sounds like Palpatine when he's going over the Darth Plagueis the Wise story to Anakin. Many abilities deemed unnatural. Like, it's fucking terrifying, especially given what he has done. So, this is him kind of laying out the foundation that he received these 3 life in prison charges. And he maintains that it was a complete corrupt law. This infamous crimes against nature law for which he was tried and found guilty of was a whole bunch of baloney. It was all fucking dirty barnacles and foul play. The supposed victim, you know, it was never a minor over 18. He makes sure to specify.
And without getting into details, I will say that there was a trial, and the witness against me, and he was over 18 years of age, the witness against me admitted on the witness stand that he was lying.
Darth Sidious is doing his best to placate and omit important details. He tries to talk about this infamous crimes against nature law as if the reason he fell victim to it is because it was just completely fucked up, right? So he's trying to say, like, back during the time that this happened, which was like 45 years ago now, this law was used as just like an anything goes. They were real loosey-goosey with it. If it wasn't a relationship between a man and a woman, they could slap you with the infamous crimes against nature law. And he tries to present this law as if it was this boogeyman that he himself was on the front lines of justice fighting against. He mentions multiple times that he helped have the law changed around. But he makes it sound like, you know, it was just completely wild west of law enforcement here. You know, if you kissed your body pillow that had a waifu on it, you would have went right to jail under the infamous crimes against nature law. If you are a furry, they would have thrown you right in the slammer under this law, this and that. And he's trying to make it seem like because his situation wasn't a man and a woman, that's why he stood trial for his crimes. He fails to mention that even though it wasn't a man and a woman, that's not the problem. It was because it was him and a child. But he's trying to make it seem like it was because they didn't tolerate gay people, they were homophobic, and that's what the law was used. That's why they used that law against him. He just continues to omit the fact that it was a minor. Him saying that the witness was 18 years old is extremely misleading because while the witness may have been 18 at the time of that trial, he was not 18 when he was a victim of Tom. He was a minor. This happened years later when he was on trial and was 18, but when the actual yucky events happened, he was a child. So Tom, in this entire video here, tries to play himself off as a victim, but also narcissistic in that he celebrates his victory over this whole case and how he gets off with barely even a fucking slap on the wrist for all of it. It's fucking sickening.
Like, at the end of the day, obviously this isn't an interaction between a man or a woman, but it's also not an interaction between a legally aged man and another legally aged man. Again, reading the court documents, it involves a minor. Reading the news clippings, it involves a minor well under the age of 18. Well, why not include that into the situation? Again, without getting into details, I can see why he wouldn't get into details, because there is no actual defense. This boy to a room to introduce him to the guitar, a musical instrument. But the session ended in the first act of oral copulation. So again, it only says the first of several acts. It wasn't just one, it was multiple.
Now, I bet you're wondering how he was able to weasel his way out of this sentencing. 3 life sentences, that's not exactly small potatoes by any means there. That's not like a you wouldn't download a car situation where you're pirating John Wick 2 or whatever. This was very big, and he was able to wiggle his way out due to a fucking technicality. One that I still don't fully understand how he was able to pull off. Even after watching Mudahar's video and reading into it myself, I still don't quite understand how he was able to get away with such a slap on the wrist in light of all of these charges in the sentencing. I'm still a little confuddled by that. So I encourage you to look into this case if you were once a fan of Feature Man as well. I'm not going to even bother trying to tackle exactly how the technicality works that got him out of this extreme sentence that he was facing. But one thing is very clear. Tom shows absolutely no remorse for any of this. He also seems to have a very favorable view of himself, where he's almost like a hero who fought against an archaic law that was used against him unjustly, while never revealing to his audience that the victims here were minors. He continues to skirt around that fact, and it's fucking gross. So yeah, like I mentioned, I did like Feature Man's content. I didn't watch like every single upload, but I did watch a good handful of them. Like I said, I even made a video on him a long time ago. And this was an absolutely wild development here. This would have been like learning Mr. Rogers was secretly selling heroin to kids. I just couldn't believe this when I saw Mudahar posted the video, and now I'm just disgusted by this guy. So, yeah, I just wanted to talk about it a little bit. That's about it. So, yep. Hey, this is actually the most outrageous setup I've ever attempted. I've got the normal Sony camera balancing on a small beam in the hotel room here that's looking like a high wire out of a circus, and I have it propped up a little bit with the laptop flipped down and slightly angled at an obtuse angle in order to prop it up just a little bit so you can maybe see my face. I don't know what it looks like. You might be looking at just like my bottom chin, so I'm going to look like the secretary from the Powerpuff Girls, but we're going to run it anyway. So, as you can see, I'm still on my little expedition away from home. I'm in my hotel room, don't be alarmed. I know I'm not wearing a white shirt, but this isn't a cry for help or anything. It's very cold, so I threw on one of the only long sleeve shirts that I had available. So that's the whole explanation there. Anyway, the reason I have urgently scrambled here to get to this computer in order to talk about something is because a huge story has been developing over the last, I don't know, like 2 hours or something, where SSSniperWolf has now doxed Jack's films. I'm sure this is something that a lot of you are moderately familiar with, but I'll just go ahead and give you the really brief nutshell rundown of what's going on. I didn't make that cut right there on purpose. This has nothing to do with the whole video, but I need to mention this. The camera just fell on its own and stopped the recording, so we may have an angry poltergeist incident in here. I'm gonna have to get the fucking Luigi's Mansion vacuum out and just start going to town in here to clear the area, exorcise whatever spirits happen to be haunting this room. But I'm gonna finish the video regardless, but if you see my eyes roll into the back of my skull and I start levitating off the chair during it, just know, it's a haunting in Pittsburgh here. Or perhaps the cringe was too unbearable here with the subject we're covering. But anyway, back on topic. SSSniperWolf, huge channel. She mainly does TikTok reacts, which has made her the punching bag of the internet recently. She's caught more fire than the sequel to The Hunger Games, because a lot of people have been stating that what she does isn't really reacting to content, it's mainly just stealing it, freebooting it. And the entire internet has come together like this giant singularity and all collapsed onto SSSniperWolf, as well as some other React channels as well, for this type of content. And by far the biggest soldier on the front line of this battle is Jack's Films. Jack's Films made a whole video going over why what she does isn't acceptable, and even made an entire channel dedicated to making fun of her and her content. And he even has an entire bingo game that takes the piss out of her content more than a catheter takes the piss out of a hospital patient. He has pretty much daily uploads of just making fun of each of her daily reacts. This ongoing feud has been escalating and continuing for quite some time. We're in like season 5 of this anime arc here, and it's only popping off more and more. And this whole situation has led to a can of worms opening. Pandora's box has been unleashed. So it's been a massive conversation across the entire internet with tons of content creators weighing in on it, such as Dark Viper having an entire series on React content. Mudahar's made quite a few pieces on it as well. Just tons of channels that have all been talking about it recently. And it's led to this witch's cauldron, this stew that's been brewing and bubbling. And now the cup runneth over, and all of this have spilt from the internet to the real world. Allegedly, SSSniperWolf has just doxed Jack's Films. In an Instagram post, she posted this. And it was more than just this picture here. Apparently, she even posted one of his house, which obviously I'm not going to show you. I'm not here to just like hop on and give you like a 4K display of Jack's Films dojo here because SSSniperWolf posted it on her story. It's just an extremely degenerate, fucked up response to this whole situation from SSniperWolf here. It's borderline illegal, I think. I don't think you can just dox somebody like this. And if it's not illegal, it's against YouTube's rules at the very least. And it violates the Geneva Convention of Internet Content Creators, where you never take internet beef into the real world. It's just going too far with this whole thing. Jack's Films was just making critiques on her content as well as making fun of it, which is something everyone does all the time, every single fucking day. And to go to this extreme where you dox him for it is just an incomprehensible, insano-style step. Now, Jack's Films posting about this on Twitter obviously gained a lot of traction. This isn't exactly some kind of like whoops-a-daisy moment, you know, a mistake that could happen to anyone. This is some pretty malicious shit. There's not really a defense of it. You can't just make the claim like, well, I just wanted to kind of talk it out face to face. Like, no. That's not how this works. You don't go up to someone's house like you're about to try and sell them solar panels in order to hash out your internet beef unannounced, especially not in the middle of the night too. That's threatening. Like that is not a normal, sane way of handling things. So when this started getting traction, SSniperWolf herself caught onto it and deleted the post and then said this. She said, accusing me of doxing is defamation. I have no idea how to dox. He literally posted his address on Google and said I threatened him and doxed him. Jack's Films said, you posted a video tonight of you outside our home to your 5+ million followers to see while my wife and I were inside. I can't make it any simpler than that. If that's not doxing, why did you delete it? That's kind of a checkmate moment right there. He got her with the scholar's mate. Like, you showed up to his house unannounced in the middle of the night. And then when people started to point out how that's not acceptable behavior and is very much in line with doxing, you deleted it. So you can recognize that it's bad. I don't really know how you'd Phoenix write an argument together that it's not doxing. Like, I don't even understand the statement she makes about saying that Jack's Films posted his address on Google. She's talking about Google like it's the GameFAQs.com board. Like, I don't think he made a sponsored paid post with just his address as the first thing that comes up when you type in Jack's Films. You definitely would have to go out of your way to find that information. I don't think he, like, geotagged his spot, made it like a Pokemon Go stop, and, like, really was advertising where he lives. Like, this is not common information. You went out of your way to find it and then went to his address. Like, I just really can't think of any justification for it. I've seen a couple of people huffing massive amounts of copium, nearly toxic levels of copium, saying, like, she went there to handle things like an adult, unlike Jack's Films, who just speaks behind a computer. And that's just straight up delusional, if you ask me. No normal people are going to hash out their internet beef in the middle of the night, in person, unannounced, right? Like, going up to his house like she's about to, you know, sell solar panels to him or something and ambush him with this conversation about this feud they have is not normal or acceptable. It's just like a malicious, weird thing to do. And wow. That, man, a ghost just haunted my vocal folds on that one with that voice crack. Goodness gracious. Overall, I'm just shocked that SSniperWolf, with as long as she's been on the internet and as large as she is, would think for even just a second that she'd somehow be able to get out of this situation without huge backlash and problems from it. Again, this is something that extends beyond just like normal internet etiquette. This is like downright against rules to do something like this. So I definitely think Jax Films is in the right here. He's very upset about it, probably a little concerned because, you know, who knows who else might go to his house next since she posted it on a massive Instagram account. Like, that is a legitimate fear. She also posted this, again in response to the whole situation, saying, "This creep has been harassing me for months," then plays victim, saying, "I threatened him when I just wanted to talk to him. I have no ill intentions. It's so sad when people have to constantly create drama to pay their bills." But this doesn't make any sense. Like, this is a crazy straw of a statement. It's taken all kinds of weird twists and turns that aren't computing in my little noodle up here. If you just wanted to talk to him, why wouldn't you just reach out to him through normal channels online? I'm sure he would have responded to you instantly. He seems to respond to everyone about everything in regards to the entire React situation. So I feel like if you had reached out to him, he would have been thrilled to talk to you about it. But again, I'm not his fucking PR guy. I don't know, maybe you did reach out to him and he didn't see it or he ignored it. I have no idea. But regardless, you going to his house to try to talk to him that's some psychopath shit. That's not a normal thing that anyone should be doing. There's other channels that you could have tried beforehand. Go to one of his bingo nights on Twitch and be like, "Hey, listen, Buster, I'm ready to hash it out. Let's talk." And again, I'm sure he probably would have seen that, and that would be a lot less scary than having you show up in the middle of the fucking night to his home unannounced. Like, it just doesn't make any sense. I think the goal here was to either scare him or put his information out there to maybe some less than savory individuals that could also scare him. I don't know, but regardless, the way you handled this is atrocious and dangerous. Like, downright, dangerous thing to do. So I totally understand the response from Jax Films about this and being frightened by it, because this is fucked up. So yeah, I just wanted to talk about this because I think this is one of the rare cases of a huge YouTuber making a massive blunder like this, where you would step on actual rules and potentially laws all over some internet beef. So yeah, I just had to talk about this one a little bit. That's it. See ya. Just when you thought you'd finally seen all of the degeneracy disgusting YouTubers could ever cook up in their cursed kitchen, you get jump scared by a new outrageous, heinous act committed by a YouTuber. In the words of Qui-Gon Jinn, there's always a bigger fish, and in this case, that fish is evil. There is a new evil action that a YouTuber just proudly engaged in that I just learned about today. This comes from the true crime community. This comes from a YouTuber named Zavgirl, who charged people on Patreon for access to autopsy photos of a murdered 11-year-old boy. That is some morally demented shit right there that would have a demon cringing. Now, Zavgirl is refuting some of these claims and even released her own apology video explaining her side of the situation. Just a quick side note, apology videos have become 2023's Harlem Shake. This is a massive flood of apology videos that we've gotten in just the last month. If YouTuber apologies were a stock option and you invested back in January of this year, you'd be a millionaire by now. It is crazy just how often this is happening. Now, her apology video might not feature a ukulele, but it's still just as shitty. But before really diving into that, I want to give a general overview of the situation. Zavgirl is a true crime YouTuber, and she had just recently dove into the case of an 11-year-old boy named Gannon who was brutally murdered by his stepmother, Letitia Stouch. And it is just unbelievably disturbing. The mother is on trial now, which I imagine is why Zavgirl wanted to start talking about it since it's now unfolding in court. I don't really want to get into the specifics of the case. Basically, the stepmother tortured the son, stabbed him a ton of times, shot him in the head, and then stuffed his corpse into a suitcase and started to pretend like he was missing. So she told the authorities all kinds of different stories, like he didn't come home after going to a friend's house. Then she even came up with some kind of fucking wild narrative about how someone that was fixing her carpet ended up raping her and then abducting the child. So she got caught lying a ton of times. Eventually, investigators found blood on her shoes and in her car as well as in Gannon's room, and then her DNA on a gun that was linked to Gannon's death. So they caught her and realized that she was responsible for Gannon's murder. So Zav Girl followed the Letitia Stouch case and said that she had recently made an official records request, which is something I didn't even know you could do as just like an average Joe Schmo. I had no fucking clue that any goofball goober could just ask and get sensitive files like she received. I guess I'm just very naive to what you're able to ask for, but I feel like those kind of things should only be made accessible to the victim's family as well as like official sources, not just YouTubers. But that's just me, I guess, speaking as a goddamn Neanderthal who I guess doesn't understand how things work here. That was surprising, but she said that she had made an official records request and then received all of these documents, which she posted on her Patreon. I'll go ahead and play this clip from her apology video where she tries to explain that this is a little misleading. She wasn't just charging for autopsy photos, she was actually charging for everything, which included autopsy photos.
I have followed the Letitia Stout case closely, and it was actually during the trial that I made the official records request. And it was in El Paso County, Colorado. I requested all the video, audio, and written records. I made no request for autopsy photos. I wanted all trial records, but my main interests were interviews with Letitia. The autopsy photos just happened to be in the files.
Not exactly the slam dunk you think it is here. You still did charge for all of this sensitive information, which does include the autopsy photographs, as you mentioned. I'll be extremely charitable here. I'll really throw you a bone and assume you're telling the truth that you didn't specifically seek out autopsy photos. You still got them, and you still published them, and you still charged for them on your Patreon. They were a component of what you were charging your audience for. You legitimately set up basically a booth in your Patreon where you could go in and look at photos of a dead child and learn everything that happened to him with the murder. How do you not recognize how incredibly fucked up that is? That is bafflingly evil. I understand desensitization is a real thing, right? Doctors get desensitized to gore and blood. Gamers get desensitized to being insulted in video games over Xbox Live. I get it, but I just don't understand how someone could ever reach the point where they're desensitized to the brutal murder of a child, and so desensitized, in fact, that you're going to charge people access to it. Other depraved fucking people that for some reason want to pay money to see photos of a dead child. So again, even if your primary goal wasn't to get autopsy photographs, you did receive them, you did publish them, and you charged an admission fee for people to look at them. You were making money off of showing people someone's dead child. How can you not recognize the complete absence of humanity and complete lack of empathy? She was also just giddy with excitement that she got her hands on all of this in the first place. Here's a community post that she hasn't deleted. Well, and I think she has deleted other ones, but I'll get to that in a moment. But she said, "Hey you all, so I got a bunch of Letitia Stouch case files I'm going to be releasing. So there's some new videos and info, and also some videos they played in court, but the quality wasn't the best, so I have the originals where it's not a recording of a crooked TV screen. LOL! So if you're interested, keep your eyes out for my videos. I'm gonna get them out as fast as I can. There's some that might take me longer because, for instance, all the text messages, I like to read them for you, so those will take me some time, but I'm gonna try to get them out as soon as I can." Just a quick side note, she sucks fuck at writing. I guess she just doesn't believe in grammar. There wasn't a single comma to be had in this entire statement. It made it very difficult to read. It was just one long, random, vomited, evil thought that she put on the community tab here, with random capitalization of random words. I guess, you know, her pinky gets really excited and just slaps the shift key down mid-sentence sometimes to capitalize a random fucking word. But anyway, you can see the excitement here in this post. She is elated, celebrating like it's Christmas now that she has these records, because she's going to get a lot of content out of the records for her Patreon and for her YouTube audience as well. She was fucking roaring to go. And then she did. And she faced backlash even from her own community. So in the article I read about this situation, they referenced some of her community posts that I can no longer find. I don't know if they were deleted. So I just wanted to put that out there that these are no longer on her channel. But according to this article, she addressed the criticism in a lengthy statement saying, "The reality of the situation is that different people feel differently about this. Some people genuinely think making a video including the autopsy photos is bad, and I respect their opinion and feelings. Other people, like myself, think of autopsy photos and the coroner explaining them as interesting and informative, and are able to view it all in a more scientific, detached way. It's just one of those things where it depends on the person." Hey Zav girl, let me hit you with some cold water real quick. If you're the kind of person that looks at photos of a dead child and goes over the details on how they were brutally tortured and murdered and think to yourself, this is good content. This content's a fucking banger. This is going on Patreon right now. I'm gonna get fucking paid for this shit. Let's go. Then you're a bad person. That's the kind of person you are. You are an evil piece of shit person is what you are. This isn't like some kind of debatable position. This isn't a hot take for me. I don't know how she even thinks that there is a large number of people that think like her where, oh, we actually just look at photos of dead, murdered children in a scientific, analytical way. As we could learn from this, like, oh, look at that. Stabbed 1,000 times. This is very interesting. I'm giving that an updoot, and here's $5. Thanks for showing me this. That's not common. She literally dropped a, "I'm sorry you feel that way," over this whole situation in her community tab, I guess. That blows my mind. That blows my mind. And this is something I've always wondered about from the true crimes community, if there's ever any actual empathy for victims from channels like hers. I know that there are some true crime productions that actually aim to do good by trying to solve cold cases, and I think there is like a legitimate effort to do something there that's more than just exploitative, whereas what Zavgirl does here is legitimately just exploitative. She is trying to capitalize off the trauma of this family and make money from it for her true crime channel. I actually don't know how she sleeps at night. According to the article, the community post continued and it went into her denying that the autopsy footage that she distributed showed genitalia. She said, "I understand some of you have issues with me charging money on my Patreon for the video. If I was charging money for the autopsy files alone or something like that, I think I'd see your point. But in this case, I spent a lot of time and worked hard putting together a video lining up the coroner's audio and descriptions along with the appropriate part of the photos she is describing and editing it together to try and make it as informative as possible for the viewer. That's what I'm charging for, which I would hope you can agree is understandable." Zavgirl, I don't agree. It's not understandable. I completely disagree. Basically, what you're describing here is you made an autopsy photo montage where you synced up the photos of a murdered child's body with the coroner's explanation on how they were murdered and died. What the fuck is wrong with you? Like, I don't know why you think that that's effort worthy of compensation, or why you think that what you did is a good thing. This isn't informative by any means. You're not like a documentary filmmaker that's paying respect to the victims' families or anything like that. This is the most disrespectful shit ever. Like this is beyond reprehensible. If you were aiming to create an informative video about the situation, why do you need the photos to accompany it? You could just have the coroner's explanation of it. You don't need the photos there. Clearly the reason you had them there is because you knew people would maybe pay for morbid curiosity to see a murdered child because there are some sick fucks in the world. That was clearly the intention behind having the photos there. Like, there's no other argument you can make for it, because again, if you wanted to just make a piece of content that was supposed to outline the horrors of this case, you could do that without showcasing the child's body. That's basic common sense. But I want to make it clear, even if you never published the autopsy photos, I still think what you did was exploitative and disrespectful to the victim and the victim's family. What you did here is not just provide details to a case to try and educate people on something horrible that happened or anything. You turned this case into a spectacle for your community to, like, give you impressions and engagement on. The goal of what you did here does not seem to be information or anything like that. The goal from you seems to have tried to be, like, a piece of entertainment about it, which is so fucked up.
I didn't think any of the images were new. These photos were already public. Although the video I put together with the coroner's voice was my own creation. I chose to put the video on Patreon because of the sensitive nature of the evidence. Putting the evidence behind a paywall meant added security, and I naively thought they wouldn't be made public.
Well, that was certainly a dumb thing to listen to. Putting it on Patreon is still making the information public. You took private information and you published it on Patreon. A paywall does not mean that it's still private. It is easily accessible to anyone that wants to fork over a few doubloons to access it. Thus, the information is no longer private.
The video I created with a voice from the coroner wasn't meant to be shared outside of Patreon, and I chose not to put the photos on YouTube, a public forum, where the views would have allowed me to make more money, and the photos would be seen by more people.
Wow, you're such a saint. What an angel. She took a pay cut by only posting the murdered child autopsy photos on Patreon behind a paywall there, instead of posting it on YouTube, which I don't think you could even do on YouTube to begin with. What the fuck? What are you talking about here?
Because the video was placed behind a paywall, rumors about the images not being blurred or being different than what was shown in trial started to surface. No photos shows genitalia. I have made no jokes about the photos. I don't even cuss on my channel, and I would never allow derogatory remarks about a victim. I realized my intentions were not communicated well.
This is deflecting. It's not your intentions that people were questioning. The entire act of what you did here is a problem. It is disgusting what you did. It has nothing to do with your motivation behind doing it. The fact you did it at all is the problem. There's no intention that justifies it. There just isn't. There isn't an argument you can make that will, in any way, shape, or form, make it seem reasonable to have published the autopsy photos in any capacity, or made all of those private documents accessible through anyone that pays directly to you for the information. And again, even if you did make all of this publicly accessible without a paywall, releasing all of this kind of shit, the autopsy photos, coroner stuff, all of that, I still think it is exploitative because you are capitalizing off of it. I still think there wasn't really a good explanation for anything you did in this whole situation. So it has nothing to do with your fucking intentions. There is nothing you could have done that would have made this understandable in any capacity. So, yeah. She then goes on to say that her Patreon did get shut down for it, which sounds about right. That makes a lot of sense considering what she posted on there. And, yeah, that's kind of the whole situation in a nutshell. That's about it. See ya. Yesterday, a beloved YouTube group made an announcement, and it did not go over well. They ended up getting dunked on more than a Fisher-Price basketball hoop. It is the YouTube channel Watcher, as they announced their subscription-based paywalled content strategy going forward. It is really interesting. So, for those that don't know, this is a very popular YouTube group called Watcher. They make very well-produced content. I was unfamiliar with this channel until today with this news, but I was familiar with their work previously, like before they were Watcher. But they've been crushing it, clearly. Almost 3 million subs, every video getting like 1 million views pretty much. It's all very high quality content. So then today, they posted this video, Goodbye YouTube. And it's like a really heartfelt video about what YouTube means to them, and it's very dramatic. You know, it's saying things like, if this is my last time on YouTube, what a fucking ride it's been. It's like the end to a 1990s action movie. YouTube, you son of a bitch, we had a good ride. That kind of thing, as they sail off into the sunset. But what they're actually doing is they're moving to their own subscription-based website. So, the strategy is, they're going to be releasing a couple of episodes still on YouTube, but the rest of that season will be exclusively behind paywalled content at watchertv.com. The video is getting absolutely bombarded with dislikes, and a lot of people have soured their impression of this group, regardless of what they decide to do going forward, even if they do backtrack this decision. It's a maneuver that just did not land. They went for a kickflip and ended up breaking both their ankles on this bad boy here, and it's pretty simple to understand why. It's the whole concept of the content you were getting for free is now no longer going to be free. That just always leaves the taste of shit in people's mouths. It's the worst flavor. No one likes a poop pop. So, understandably, a lot of people were voicing their concerns and their disappointment with this. Honestly, Watcher probably would have found more success if they made an announcement stating that one of the members had hit a deer on their way into work and they had no remorse or something. Like, this hasn't been really a home run for them here. They said they made the service $5.99 because everyone and anyone can afford it. When did they see that? Well, I must have missed that statement. Was it in this video somewhere and I just am forgetting it? Because that is a crazy thing to say.
First. Steven, talk about money. Yeah, what's this price?
You can become a member of Watcher for $5.99 a month or $59.99 a year.
We want to keep the price low enough where anybody and everybody is able to afford it, but it also has to support the things that we do here. So that was the number that just made the most sense for the streamer.
That's very out of touch. I don't know how I missed that. I don't know how that flew under my radar. That is extraordinarily out of touch. That face right there says it all. Yep, that one just got ripped. Fuck it, we'll do it live, I guess. That's going in the final cut. Are we sure? Eek. Let me lay down the reality here. $6 isn't nothing. Especially not in the current climate of things where everyone and their grandmother is making a subscription service for every single fucking thing on the planet. We're in the gold rush right now where every company is turning their content into a subscription-based monthly payment to access it. And I mean everything. If you want like a bag of beans delivered to you, you probably have to subscribe to the bag of bean delivery stork service for $5.99 a month. So this is yet another subscription charge they're trying to peddle here for previously free YouTube videos. That's just not worth it for the majority of people and just adds another headache, an unnecessary subscription charge that I can't imagine many people being enthusiastic about paying for. Now, to be clear, they're not like removing their YouTube content that's already up. It's just going forward, they're only going to be releasing like the premiere of a season on their channel, and then the rest of that season is paywalled. Now, personally, I think it is a horrible idea. Going through their channel, their videos are long-form content for the most part, like 30 minutes plus. And I imagine with their history working at BuzzFeed for BuzzFeed Unsolved, they've learned how to optimize mid-roll ads. So they're probably pulling in a very high RPM on those videos. I have to imagine that is already covering the cost of production. But on top of that, and I didn't know this until stream last night, they also have a very successful Patreon with over 12,000 members and 3 different monthly payment tiers. And just for the cherry on top of this money cake, Mr. Krabs style, they have a ton of merch, obviously, but the biggest thing is they do a ton of brand deals. From what I can see, they run a lot of ads in their content. And many of you might not remember this, I actually own a company that specializes in putting brands with YouTubers and running ads for major YouTube channels. It's called Mana Talent Group. And I started that back in 2018, so I know what these deals look like. So I'm going to break the magician's code here and give you a little spitball estimate on what I think they're making per ad. With a channel of their size and their views and this style of content, I would wager a guess that each brand that appears in their content is paying between $15,000 and $35,000 a piece to be there. Now, I know that's kind of a wide ballpark. It's just hard for me to guesstimate from the sidelines what their deals might look like, because longer-term partnerships usually have discounts per slot because they've done a long-term deal, whereas like one-offs or short-term partners are paying more for like the couple of ads they're there for. But I'm confident that none of their brand partners are paying less than $15,000 to be on their content, and I'm pretty confident that it's probably going up to about $35K for their more one-offs or short-term deals. So they're already making tons of money through their content. You were right. They just don't really advertise it. So they already have this, and now they have Watcher TV, which is another subscription service, which I imagine is going to run congruent. Or if you pay $5 here, do you also get Watcher TV access? I don't know. Is it somewhere in the perks? That is a lot of doubloons they are pulling in right now. They got 12,000 members on that Patreon, and some of those tiers, that's a lot of bones. You're not really in a financially struggling situation with this channel. I'm just going to lay down the brass tacks here. I saw a few people defending them, saying like, no, they have 25 employees, they need to get their bread because it's very expensive. I'm going to peel back the curtain here real quick. I have more than 25 employees, considering I also have an esports organization which has a lot of players on it. And I'm going to tell you, since they're professional gamers, their salary is going to be significantly higher than their employees' cost. And I'm able to finance all of that completely fine through streaming. And my streaming numbers are nowhere near as lucrative as their Patreon numbers. It's not even close. Theirs blows me out of the water. And I'm not exactly struggling with all of those employees for our esports org. To really drive this point home, one of our star players was $10,000 a month. One. And we have well north of 25 in total. And I was still able to do all of that through a fraction of their numbers here with what they're making on Patreon. And I have like a fourth of their RPM. My RPM on YouTube is about 3, and I'm confident that the Watcher channel is probably seeing north of 8 to 9 RPM on their videos, and still, I wasn't exactly struggling to cover all of these employees' cost. So I don't think that this subscription paywall service is necessary for them to stay afloat, especially not since they have this Patreon, and they have such a successful YouTube channel already. Now, this isn't exclusive to just Watcher. There's been a lot of channels that have done similar things, and some of them have seen different degrees of success. I was researching it at the end of stream last night. However, all of the examples I can find of YouTube groups making their own third-party platforms where you can subscribe for exclusive content, that's a little different because they're not taking what was already free from that channel and putting it behind a paywall. They're adding like behind the scenes stuff, brand new shows, things like that, exclusive to that subscription tier on that third party website. And for a couple of them, I saw that their third party website was free with ads, and you had the option of subscribing for a monthly fee, whereas Watcher TV is only the $6 a month subscription fee, or the $60 a year. And it's weird because Watcher is already doing what those other channels do on their third party platform on their Patreon. They're already offering like the exclusive stuff there for the monthly charges, and now they're adding another separate monthly charge for the content that people were used to getting for free on YouTube. So it's really just such a fucking mess. Now, of course, there's no telling if this is going to be a successful venture for them. It certainly doesn't look like it based on the reception here and all the tomatoes that are getting tossed at them. But with an audience of their size, they don't need a large portion of them to sign up at $5.99 a month to make it viable. They don't need a large number of conversion here, and I think they know that. But I really think that they're going to be surprised with how little will likely sign up here, because it is expensive. That's not nothing. They framed it like $6 a month is affordable to everyone. What? We all have $6 lying around. You guys don't have phones? Oh, you got $6. Like, they make it sound like it's basically nothing, when it's not. That's a lot, especially on top of every other subscription that people have in their daily lives. But I just really think it's a pretty dumb idea. This is going to completely kill their growth as a brand. It's going to be a very hard sell to people that don't know the Watcher why they should be willing to pay $5.99 a month to watch YouTube videos. Like, that's just not an easy thing to sell to people. It only come from a very loyal fan base that's already hooked on their content in this audience they built on YouTube, which they're now abandoning. So they're not really going to be bringing in new people, I don't think. Even with dropping like the premiere video on their channel, I think that's just going to frustrate people more. Like, oh, I really want to watch the rest of this. Oh, but I have to pay $6.99 for it, and I only get this? Like, that's not worth. It just, to me, doesn't seem like it's going to be a good long-term plan. But I could be totally wrong. Who knows? Maybe people are, like, elated and can't wait to pay for more streaming services. I think that blows ass. I'm so tired of streaming services popping up all over the place like a fucking plague. It's like Hydra, cut off one head and 2 more streaming services take its place. And now we're seeing it for YouTubers? Like, that's not exciting. Point blank, I just do not like it. I do not like Green Eggs and Ham. I do not like it, Sam I Am. Watcher TV, what a sham. I understand why some other YouTube channels have third-party places where they can pay for more content, but they're paying for more content on top of what they're already getting on YouTube. So, like, I know Ross Creations has one, which apparently people really like the way he does it. I know Sidemen have Sidemen Plus, and it seems like people like that as well. And from what I can tell, that's just giving you, like, the very loyal, like, ferocious fans more of what you already like. So you're getting like behind the scenes stuff, you're getting exclusive content that is totally separate from the content that they're already getting on the primary platform. Whereas with Watcher, that's not the case. You're losing what you're used to, and that's it. You now have to access it through $6 a month to get that same content. It just doesn't feel good. Especially because they already have a Patreon. Like, they were already doing the standard, which people don't mind, and I don't think there's anything wrong with, where, you know, your audience pays the Patreon monthly fee or whatever, and they just get more content from you guys. The behind the scenes, the podcast, the special edition stuff, the sneak peeks, whatever. Like, that makes sense. Like, that's value there, and they keep getting the content that they're used to, that you've been providing to them for free, that made them a fan in the first place on YouTube. I don't know, it just feels like a real slap in the face, and I totally understand why people are upset about it. I don't like it either. And I hope this isn't the direction a lot of YouTubers decide to go down in the future. I don't really know why they thought this would go over well. To me, it really seems like some kind of corpo suit came in there, like a devil on their shoulder, whispering in their ear that this is the way of the future. This is the way to do things, making subscription-based third-party services outside of YouTube. Grow your presence on YouTube, and then abandon it. Try and take all of them to your third-party site where you can really milk them dry for more money. It sucks. Like, that's just not healthy at all. There's nothing good about that direction. But yeah, anyway, I just wanted to kind of talk about this a little bit. That's really it. So yeah. There's a long list of people I'll never have respect for. Cheaters, drunk drivers, animal abusers, murderers. Yeah, that's right. I'm not afraid to say it. I'm not going to censor myself. I think you gotta be a real jerk to kill someone. Standing wipers is another one. I don't understand what kind of psychopath would stand up after doing their business to wipe when the toilet seat already spreads your cheeks, giving you the optimal angle of entrance to your butthole. Doesn't make any sense. You're adding extra steps and more of a nuisance. And another thing that I'll never have respect for are pathetic scumbags that abuse the YouTube strike system because their feelings got hurt. And that has been happening quite a bit lately on the platform. It's been an incredible week for little slimy weasels that like to use the YouTube strike system because someone made a video they weren't overly happy about. So I wanted to march on in here and administer some wedgies and shoot spitballs at these fucking dweebs that are doing this disgusting weenie behavior where they're abusing this YouTube system to try and get rid of videos that said not nice things about their content. The first one I want to cover is from this YouTube channel, Ingween. They received a copyright strike from another YouTuber named The Manny Show. I'll go ahead and play a clip from this video that explains it.
That one of my videos had a copyright takedown, which is very new to my channel. The video in question that was taken down is why everyone hates The Manny Show. And the YouTube automated email says, "Hi Nguyen, we received a copyright removal request."
I was unfamiliar with The Manny Show before this situation, and I really missed 30 minutes ago when I was still in ignorant bliss about who this was, because this shit is insufferable. It's a massive YouTube channel that just aims to fill the shorts algorithm with brain rot content to try and farm subs off of it. It sucks. It super sucks. Copyright strikes are a huge deal. It's more than just the video getting taken down. It affects the entire channel. I'm sure all of you are familiar with the strike system on this platform. It's the nuclear option. When someone does that, it's a declaration of war, and that's when things get extremely serious. And it's also an unforgivable sin on the internet. If you ever have that little devil on your shoulder that convinces you to file a copyright strike, just know that blemish is gonna haunt you for the rest of your fucking life on the cyberspace. People don't forget that. So if you're filing a strike on a channel, you better hope that that channel is publicly beheading puppies or something, because otherwise, everyone's going to hate you for it forever. Strikes, in an ideal world, would be reserved for repeat offender channels that are publishing like borderline criminal content. Anything aside from that, and you could just file a normal copyright claim and block. You don't have to choose to strike the channel. You can just take down the video you think is in violation of your copyright or whatever, and have that be that. But when you go the extra step here and put the cherry on top of the shit cake with a strike, then it becomes a huge deal. But in a situation like this, The Manny Show would still very much be in the wrong, even if they took the lesser of two evils and just removed the video without the strike. Because they have no grounds for removing the video whatsoever. They have no legs to stand on. It's a completely fraudulent claim that blatantly abuses YouTube's system. The channel that was struck, Ingween, is a commentary channel that will play a clip from a piece of content, let it play for like 10 or 15 seconds or so, and then talk about it, giving their commentary on whatever they're going over, whatever the subject is. Looking at the removal request, we can see that 13 seconds of the video was enough to lead the Manny Show to strike the entire fucking channel here. That's some fucking filthy fish paste right there. 13-second clip was enough to have the Manny Show bring the hammer down with the iron fist on the channel, because Ingween was saying some less than stellar things about the Manny Show, I guess. But you can't strike someone because your feelings were hurt over what he was saying about your content. That's just not how it works. He hasn't violated any rules at all. You are totally fine to play bits and pieces from other content and then talk about it, transform it with your commentary, your jokes, your input, whatever it is. It's not like Ingween took the entire video from the Manny Show and re-uploaded it without adding anything to it, without changing it whatsoever. There was no rules that were broken here, at least not from what I can tell. I also will just never understand this strategy of doing something like this, because as the Manny Show or part of the Manny Show team, you would have to know that Ingween or any commentary channel ever would see this and immediately talk about it, because this is just a big no-no. This is like an unwritten rule on YouTube that you don't strike another YouTuber just because they hurt your feelings. That will always backfire on you in the biggest possible way, and it puts all of the eyes on you as the bad guy, as the villain. You won't get support for that. No matter what Ingween was saying about you, and I can't go watch the video since it's been taken down, but I imagine he was calling him cringe or something. Now you have made things significantly worse for yourself. The video title that got taken down was Why Everyone Hates the Manny Show, and I don't know what the reason behind it was, but I can tell you what it will be now. The reason why everyone hates the Manny Show is because they're very sensitive and file false strikes on other YouTubers' channels. I can now answer that question for why people hate the Manny Show. And that's because of your actions. Not even because of your content, it's because what you've done when someone criticized you. It's fucking stupid. It's so dumb. Speaking of dumb and stupid, we have the actual fucking mascot for those things, Tech Lead here. He is apparently still filing false DMCA claims. I just made a video talking about him. I called it Complete Loser. I went over his last fraudulent strike that he issued on Internet Anarchist. Mudahar posted this on June 29th, so only a couple days ago. This appears to be a screenshot of Tech Lead filing a DMCA takedown request. This is a classic SpongeBob, how many times do we have to teach you this lesson, old man moment. This one is particularly enjoyable though, because this means that YouTube automatically declined Tech Lead's attempt to falsely strike another channel. This doesn't happen super often with YouTube, but they do have measures in place to prevent offenders like Tech Lead from abusing these systems once they're made aware of it. So what happens, and I've seen it a couple of times, what happens is you take one of these fucking worms like Tech Lead, they file a takedown removal request. YouTube will then start processing it and realize that this is just a bunch of hooey. So YouTube will actually send you an email making you aware that someone tried to target a particular video for a particular reason. In Mudahar's case, that video from a Tech Lead segment. And they tell you that they are not going to take any action because they believe it's fair use, but they want to put it on your radar in case you want to do something with that information. The reason they state is in case you want to delete it just to be safe, to avoid any kind of like legal ramifications if they decide to go above the YouTube strike system. So they just give you that information so that way you can plan your next steps accordingly, whether it's deleting the video or contacting the party directly. So that's why Mudahar has that copy there of the Tech Lead DMCA. It's because YouTube thought it was such a load of barnacles that they didn't even bother fucking with it. They just threw it into the trash pile right away, but sent a copy to Mudahar to basically use as toilet paper if he wants. That is so poetic for Tech Lead. YouTube won't even take him seriously anymore. I'm surprised they haven't taken legal action against him since he has openly on record admitted to abusing their system, which is a legal problem. That is actually him admitting to some very bad activity that YouTube could absolutely slap him for. And I think they probably will. This is leading me to believe that YouTube is now very much aware of Tech Lead and what he's doing, and I really think YouTube might take actual action against him for this garbage. Now maybe I'm huffing copium like crack here, but it really to me does seem like YouTube might do something. They're declining his DMCAs without even bothering to process them anymore because they must be aware that this is just bogus. Like, it's fake, fraudulent. So maybe they'll do something against Tech Lead. I think they absolutely should. And this has nothing to do with his false DMCA takedown strike crusade that he's going on, but I have to talk about this because it was so pathetic. A few nights ago, actually by this point it's probably like 5 or 6 nights ago, maybe even like a week ago, I'm losing track of time, everything's blending together. But I was streaming Elden Ring, I was playing the DLC, and I saw Tech Lead poke his curious little head up in my chat. And he would cheer on whatever boss I was fighting at the time, like, go get him, demon guy, beat his ass, that kind of thing. You called me a complete loser? Well, look at you, you're dying to this Elden Ring boss, loser. And nobody in the chat even noticed he was there. He's such an insignificant fly that even his attempts to try and stir up shit in the chat didn't work. It just flew under the radar because no one gives a fuck about him. But I saw him because I'm always paying attention to the chat. It's the most fun about streaming, is interacting with the community. So I saw a Tech Lead in there, but I didn't call any attention to him. I just sat there and just looked at what he was saying. And I know he started fuming because I'm actually good at Elden Ring. So he came in during the Mother Finger boss fight, and it only took me like 5 tries or something on that boss. And he came in there at like the third or so try. So he only got to see me take 1, maybe 2 deaths until I beat the boss. And then he just had to sit there and say some other nonsense outside of that because I wasn't struggling on the bosses. And I just found that to be so embarrassing that this grown-ass man would take like 30, 40 minutes, whatever it was, out of his evening. And it was late too. It was like 2 a.m., 1 a.m., something like that. To hopefully watch me struggle on Elden Ring bosses and then not even get the pleasure of seeing that. Now, if he came in later and saw me on the final boss, he would have had quite a spectacle, because that boss is fucking brutal. That took me like almost 3 hours to beat. But he came on the bosses that I was able to just fucking slap around and put the smackdown on. And he just had to sit there and just say nonsense, and no one responded to it. And I just see it and kind of like smile internally about it. I just had to point that out. I found that to be like so embarrassing. I don't know how he went to sleep that night with that level of shame. Going into my chat to try and start shit only to have no response from anybody. Just straight up crickets. So I had to mention that since we were already talking about this loser anyway. But yeah, I just wanted to talk about these 2 cases here because within just a week, we've already seen 2 YouTubers, again, falsely strike or attempt to strike other channels for nonsense reasons. And I think that shit sucks. That's about it. See ya. MrBeast just dropped a new video where I compete in a big old game, but that's playing second fiddle to the drama it just spawned with me in the center of this singularity here. It sent Twitter into a piranha feeding frenzy here, with me getting spaghettified in the middle of this black hole of drama. So let's make like a package and address it. It's this clip right here.
What's up, bro? Hey, nice How are you, dude? I like your videos, dude.
I appreciate it.
I know you've talked some shit, but...
Everybody hates Logan Paul. Is everyone around Logan just a f***ing idiot?
I'm always super happy that people don't take it personally, man. I don't.
Thank God.
I understand I'm a and I appear to be a bro. It's good to see you, bro.
And also, Prime's pretty fire.
Thanks,
I'm not allowed to say it on camera.
I get it, bro. I get it, bro. Talk, bro.
Good luck today, right?
Yeah, likewise, bro. Likewise.
People are already lining up with the pitchforks, lit torches, and spit out apple juice about how fake I am and how I folded in front of Logan Paul in person, cowering in fear, piddling my little britches. For some reason, the biggest part about that is what I said about Prime, which is like, oh, Charlie's super fake, he shits on Prime online, but in person, behind the scenes, with the mask off, he actually loves it. I'm not sure if this is people maliciously lying about me, like Pinocchio, or if they just genuinely don't know, or maybe heard something that was wrong, but I've never shit on Prime. I've actually only ever talked positively about it on stream or in videos. Me saying it's pretty fire, but I can't say it on camera is literally the simplest joke ever, like a water cooler joke at work. I've talked about it on camera numerous times. Anytime I've ever been asked about it or have made a video where it's been a subject, I've always mentioned that I actually think Prime's pretty good. Like, here's a quick example from a video I made a year ago when there was those like wakey wine scams or whatever about Prime. All just to get their hands on some Prime. I've had it before because in the States it's not rare, it's not hard to come by. I could walk outside right now and find like an unopened pallet of Prime. It's really just in the UK that this hysteria is sweeping the entire nation. It's going absolutely crazy there. So I've tried it. I think it's good. I have no complaints. but I certainly wouldn't be beating some ass and being that desperate to get my hands on a bottle. And I still wouldn't. You wouldn't catch me running around like a fucking Frankenstein's monster trying to hunt down a pallet of Prime, but it's good. And I've always said that on streams and in videos, so I don't know where this narrative is that I've shit on it publicly, but behind the scenes I'm actually like an addict injecting it into my veins or lying to Logan Paul about it. I've always consistently said I actually like Prime. I think it's pretty fire. So I don't know why that's something that's sticking. Like, I prefer gamer sups, obviously, but that doesn't mean every other drink that's a competitor is bad. It's not. But now let's get to that second part where Logan Paul's spiritual pressures sent me to the floor like it was right out of the Bleach anime, and I was just trembling in fear to confront him directly. So, this was filmed a month or so ago, a little over a month ago now. Since then, he is now apparently suing CoffeeZilla. Either Logan or someone on his team is suing CoffeeZilla, which is a massive fucking L. That is brain dead activity for sure. But when this was filmed, that wasn't happening. What was happening was he was publicly trying to make amends with the victims of his CryptoZoo scam that he butt-fucked them all with, and as far as I know, he has been paying some people back, and at the time was still in the process of paying people back through whatever, like, program he set up for it. But there was none of this lawsuit going on, and one of the first things that he said was that he actually deserved all of the shit that he got for it, for all of the mistakes that he made. Ludwig was also there, someone else who was shit on Logan Paul, and Logan was saying something to a similar effect there as well, from what I recall. So at the time, he was in the process of trying to fix all the dog shit that he put innocent people through. And when I talked about this on stream and in the videos about CryptoZoo and what was going on with it with the updates, I had always said, as long as the victims are made whole again and they get their money back, that's a happy ending. But Logan is still a scumbag for ever doing it in the first place, which is something that he also said he deserved everything he got from doing that. So, I have always said as well that I never harbor hatred for someone who will actually change. There's nothing to gain with just holding a grudge forever. That's childish. If someone is actually willing to learn and grow from things, I'm more than willing to break bread with them. Logan Paul was very respectful of not only all the other competitors, but all of the staff at the event as well. So when he reached out to say hi, I was more than willing to be receptive and mature about the situation. He immediately opened up about all of the problems that he had caused and how regretful he was. So what would be the point in me getting there and just spitting on him if he's actually going to start being less of a piece of shit? That's the whole goal of calling someone out, so that way they can learn from it and not be that insufferable asshole anymore. Of course, fast forward to the current episode of Dragon Ball Z, and apparently he's suing CoffeeZilla, or someone on his team is, which brings me to that other statement that's floating around that video where I called everyone around Logan a fucking idiot. And that is super true, because I don't know who the fuck Logan Paul surrounds himself with, but it must be actual lobotomites, because I don't know who would sign off on Logan suing CoffeeZilla. But at the time, that wasn't happening. All that was happening was him seemingly actively trying to fix all of the things that he fucked in the face. Now, as for the not taking things personally statement, I've been very consistent with that from the very beginning. When I make a video about something, it's usually just for the sake of making jokes or being goofy about it, so I never really want whatever I'm talking about to be taken in a personal level or as anything like that. Though that does vary on a case-to-case basis depending on how serious the topic is, because I've absolutely crossed over the line in making things much more personal than they probably should. But usually I try and just keep it more surface stuff about why something is bad or whatever happened, whatever they did is fucking stupid or whatever. A great example is The Manny Show. I recently made 2 videos about The Manny Show's fraudulent copyright strikes, and The Manny Show just made a response video a couple days ago where they took full responsibility. They explained that they hired a monetization manager who kind of went rogue and started striking channels against the Manny Show's will. Once they learned about it, they immediately fired that person, and they just took it all on the chin, took full responsibility, and made no excuses whatsoever, and even addressed all the videos that were made about the Manny Show, saying that it was all warranted and that they understand that it came from a place of just trying to look out for the ecosystem. The Manny Show doesn't believe in censorship, and it was just a really good response overall. And the Manny Show didn't take it personally, even though what I was saying was very mean for sure. Like, it definitely wasn't nice. I didn't exactly have the soccer boppers on. I was going fucking bare knuckle with some of the things I said about the Manny Show. They still didn't take it to a like personal offense or anything. Another great example is FaZe Rug. FaZe Rug was in this competition as well. FaZe Rug I've also made a couple videos on making fun of. Absolutely. And FaZe Rug actually reached out like a year ago to talk about like, you know, hey, I hope you don't hate me, Charlie. Like, I've watched your videos on me as well, and I want you to know, like, they actually made me laugh. And in person, FaZe Rug kept that same energy. He was a super nice guy who was talking about like, yeah, that shit was kind of cringe and the things you were saying made me giggle about it. And that's how I always want it to be when I make a video covering something where even the protagonist who I'm making jokes about can watch it and not be mad, but instead be entertained about it. And hopefully not walk away from it thinking that I have this burning hatred for them that will never go away. Now, in Logan Paul's case, it is a little bit different because with the dead body situation as well as the CryptoZoo scam, I definitely did get far more personal than just like surface level jokes, talking about him being like an actual piece of shit surrounded by sycophant pieces of shit as well that just continue to enable horrible behavior. But at the end of the day, all of it was geared towards a goal in the CryptoZoo scam, getting everyone paid back and explaining why it needs to be paid back and is a horrible thing. So Logan Paul taking that and letting it not be personal but instead constructive is the best case scenario there. Not just for me, but Ludwig and everyone else that's called Logan Paul out, which was like half of the fucking competition, by the way. So it's just, I don't see why this ended up being a huge drama thing, because all of it's consistent with all of the shit that I've said on stream for like the last 6 months with Logan Paul. Since CoffeeZilla's last update on Logan Paul and CryptoZoo with the refunds, like where's the refund and where's all the money, following that and talking about it, I have maintained that as long as people are paid back, that's what matters. And as far as I knew, there were measures being taken place that were getting people their money back. That's a good thing, and hopefully Logan Paul can learn from this and this kind of shit won't happen again. All of this should really be nothing new. Here's another quick example about me always being willing to talk to or at least engage with people that I have called out on a personal level. The Sneeko beef, the medium rare beef that I had with Sneeko that lasted for a while, culminated with me actually getting in a call with Sneeko and talking, person to person, about all of this shit. Just hashing it out, well, not face to face because, I mean, obviously it's through the internet, it's the fucking cyberspace, it's not face to face, but it's the same thing. We directly talk to each other. So meeting Logan in person and him wanting to talk about this, I was more than willing to do, and he was very respectful, took full responsibility and accountability in person, so I was more than willing to be mature about this and talk to him as a human being. I don't see why in any circumstances this would be perceived as being two-faced. I did this most recently with Sneeko. Before him, it was that person that was calling me a deep state, new world order chill or whatever, brought him on the podcast to talk it all out. Like, it's something I've always done and always will be willing to do. I think it's very childish to just plug your ears and say, boo, 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 not listening to you, whatever, and not engage with someone that you have an issue with. And again, this was filmed over a month ago when I wasn't privy to any new dogshit behavior from Logan. This lawsuit with CoffeeZilla is new, so I couldn't call him out on it or anything like that. So I don't know what else to tell you other than this isn't anything new. I've always been more than willing to talk to and be mature with people that I have called out and had grievances with in the past, as long as they are willing to engage with me and be mature about it as well. And Logan was. So yeah, overall, great MrBeast video. I lost and also got thrown into a ton of drama, so that was pretty fire. That's about it. See ya. A big YouTuber named Eric Conover, almost 3 million subscribers, is facing a multitude of serious charges, including attempted murder. That's not Weenie Hut Jr. That's pretty high-level crime. If crime was Call of Duty, that would be pretty close to hitting prestige level. And he's spoken recently, and he basically cut like a WWE promo, like, you got it all wrong, and if you ever question my mental competence, I will come snap you in half like a Kit Kat, I swear to God. I'm paraphrasing a bit, but he did talk about how he would eviscerate anyone that questions his mental competence. It's really weird shit. He's claiming it's all a massive misunderstanding, but let's go ahead and set the stage here, the lore that you need to know. Eric is a very successful YouTuber whose content focuses on these luxury mansion tours. He goes and does all of these bougie real estate videos where he shows you these dreadfully overpriced locations. I can't believe I've never seen his channel. I wasn't familiar with him until this story because I have been so deep in that rabbit hole of consuming that content, of touring these ridiculously overpriced property that are just dog shit, where it's like a $55 million mansion tour. This house comes with sci-fi amenities. You walk in and it has a new mother, it cloned your previous mother, It also has an automaton that'll whip up a charcuterie board anytime you ask it to. The shower's made out of plutonium, platinum, and other rare earth minerals. The sink faucets are vibranium, and it also has this 15,000-year-old oak tree planted right in the middle to help with your chakras, that kind of garbage. He does those, that's like his bread and butter content, but I'd never seen him before. I didn't know about him until this story, which is surprising. But not nearly surprising as the crimes that he is accused of committing. So what happened is, an officer visually estimated that he was driving at speeds of around 55 to 60 in a zone where that was excessively fast. So he began to pursue Conover and managed to get him stopped through various maneuvers. The officer exited his vehicle and moved around to the rear of his cruiser, and Mr. Conover allegedly backed his vehicle, rapidly pointed it directly at the officer, and accelerated at him, striking him at a reasonably high rate of speed, and it was alleged that the officer flew between 20 and 40 feet. They also said, "We're very fortunate that an amateur drone operator was in the air when he saw the interaction, was able to capture it on video." That video has not been released yet. I imagine it won't, because it's going to be a crucial piece of evidence in this, I would imagine. But I would also guess there's body cam footage too. Now, there is footage of the chase that's been released. It's very short footage filmed by someone who was nearby on rollerblades and just happened to capture him fleeing from the police, as well as some footage of the vehicle once they got it stopped. Eric is claiming that he is not the same Eric Conover police want for the attempted murder on that officer. Eric Conover, the YouTuber, is from New York, not New Jersey, as authorities claim, stating, "This seems to be a massive misunderstanding. I'm exactly who I say I am. I'm a YouTuber." Now, we all know YouTubers are some of the most respected individuals on the planet. Their reputation is spotless, up there with like firefighters. So him saying that is a big deal. Also, he loves to mention how successful he is as a YouTuber. That's like a core part of his whole personality, even during all of this. He's also currently facing some DWI charges for an arrest that allegedly happened just days earlier, and then when he went to court, as I mentioned at the beginning, he put on quite the performance. He tried to be like the fucking Joker or something there. This guy, he was looking for some kind of Oscar nomination for some really over-the-top villainous acting. He looked unhinged.
Everything right here, and it's all been falsified.
Eric Conover had a lot to say before his arraignment this afternoon.
If anyone dares try to test my mental competence, I will eviscerate every single person with my intelligence right now. And
he's like Charles Xavier from Logan. His intelligence is so supreme, he can blow us away with a single thought. This man is a transcendent being.
That's not being egotistical.
Police paperwork says the pursuit started after Conover was going 55 in a 35. After 8 miles, Conover stopped and an officer attempted to de-escalate the situation, but Conover allegedly drove at him and hit him in the leg and then sped off for another 28 miles.
Our Father who art in heaven.
The paperwork...
If I had to venture a guess here, when he got pulled over, he was probably drinking, didn't want another DUI, so he sped at the officer, hit the officer, and drove away. So, not exactly, you know, jaywalking charges or an ounce of weed.
Officer was thrown 40 feet, suffering a leg injury. Conover is facing several charges, including attempted murder.
Mom, thank God, look at me!
Today in court, Conover was outspoken, claiming that he's a public figure because of his nearly 3 million subscribers on YouTube, and saying this was part of a, quote, police sting against him.
View the police reports in this matter, denies these allegations. He does not agree with the reports as that they are stated.
The defense asked...
I'm very curious what he denies there. If he hit the officer, physically hit the officer with his car and drove away, that's kind of like a tough one to say that it's wrong. Like, no, that's fabricated. It's CGI. That wasn't me. It couldn't have been me. I'm 12 years old. I can't drive yet. Like, I don't even know what strategy he's trying to employ. Nah, he ran into my car. Oh, wait, maybe. Yeah, actually. No, you see, he ran at me, and he threw himself off of my car 40 feet. And then the jump scare was a lot, so I panicked and I drove away.
Police say he was arrested Friday night for a separate drunk driving charge, which Conover denies.
I've been sober from alcohol for 1,558 days, so to press me on a DUI, I'm a public figure.
The judge did hold Conover
Good defense.
in preventative detention. He's due back.
Yeah, Eric Conover's facing right down the pipe of a lot of things here. It's a laundry list. He's got the DWI, the attempted murder charge, the first-degree assault against a police officer, as well as second-degree assault, reckless conduct with a deadly weapon, conduct after an accident, disobeying an officer, and reckless driving. Man's out here trying to get the platinum trophy for crimes. This is a lot, and it's all very serious. And it seems like he's trying to claim all of the information is falsified, all of the evidence is hooey, it's a load of fucking dirty barnacles, they've got the wrong guy, it's a misunderstanding. He's a big successful YouTuber, it definitely wasn't him, this is truly just a big old mix-up. Now, from what I saw, over the last, 10 or 11 days, he had been posting some very concerning stuff on Instagram, and his community was concerned for his mental state. Now, I don't mean to summon the wrath of Eric the Megamind himself right now. I know he said he'd eviscerate anyone that would do so. I'm hoping he won't tear my flesh from my bones using nothing but his intelligence, but it is something his community was worried about with the things he was posting on Instagram, and the one that I keep seeing pop up is this picture. Yeah, the pharmaceutical industry tried to gaslight me that I needed medication too, when all you need is some discipline of your emotional state. That didn't age super well. I don't think the emotional state was controlled optimally. Now, his community was saying that what he was holding was olanzapine, which is apparently used to treat either bipolar disorder or symptoms of schizophrenia, and people are saying that him being off of this medication is most likely the cause for the concerning posts and the spiral that he seems to have been in on Instagram. And while, of course, I'm no expert here, I would say that it does probably play a role in everything that has happened recently with him, as well as his behavior in the court at the hearing there. That kind of stuff is always pretty sad to me, where someone has medication for a very serious thing like that, and then they decide to stop, and then things just fucking spiral out of control for them. But anyway, very wild story here that I just wanted to talk about briefly. That's really about it. So yeah.